Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Thank for their disease. Just like the wind.
Holy shit, we got ourselves one hell of a show to discuss. And my oh my, I'm guessing a lot of y'all have been very, very annoyed that it is Monday because who likes a Monday? But I'll tell you what, I'm about to make your Mondays better because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you to a very special edition Monday stream. We are streaming live on 4 different platforms across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different accounts. And my, oh my, we got ourselves a hell of a lot of reasons to be happy to be professional wrestling fans today. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy and the operator of the Best Damn X, formerly known as Twitter handle, known to mankind. But I think we all need to stop what we're doing because there is a very, very particular scent in the air. So I want you to take a nice big inhale and I want you to go, oh, it's so nice. You got to do it twice. I mean, like, if you do it once, then you got to do it twice because it just pulses through your nostrils and it gives you a certain energy like nothing else. Oh, you got to hit the hat trick. You did it once, you did it twice, you got to do it a third time. You got to hit that hat trick, and I want you to go, oh, shit. Do you smell that? Oh my God, that is succulent. That is tasty. I don't really know what that is. My nostrils aren't what they used to be. I think the guy to my right over here knows what that is. What is that oh so particular scent?
Oh, that's a familiar smell to myself. It would be the smell of pure fucking excellence.
Oh my God, it is pure motherfucking excellence, and you know it's true. And this is the official rewind for AEW Revolution 2024, which of course streamed live on Bleacher Report and all pay-per-view platforms yesterday evening with 0 hour starting pretty early at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. No wrestling until about, I want to say around maybe about 7:20. So that we had a lot of analytical shit, but we did get the wrestling starting around 7:20, and we got ourselves what was perhaps the best AEW show that they've ever done. I know a lot of people hear that a lot, but when it comes down to it, AEW pay-per-views, they deliver. They deliver. Sometimes you can even say that they over-deliver. They over-deliver in many, many aspects, minus a few. There's never really been a bad AEW pay-per-view, and I realized that last year was kind of it was a roller coaster year for the company. We had a lot of ups, we had a lot of downs, we had some great shows, we had some lackluster shows, we had important shows, we had filler shows, we had controversy, we had things run smoothly, we had structure, we had things unstructured. It was a year in 2023 that it didn't really know what it wanted to do. And they didn't really have a lot of momentum like they should have coming into 2024, because World's End, while it wasn't a bad show, it was solid for what it was. But if you compare it to the AEW pay-per-views of past, it did not live up to what an AEW pay-per-view really should be. And I would be an idiot not to acknowledge that. But since the start of the year, and we were talking about this before we went live on the air, since the start of the year, we have gotten a lot of solid material coming into 2024. Again, some lackluster rampages here or there, some filler collisions here or there. But for the most part, it hasn't been anything blow away. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been blow away, because, again, that would be me not being honest. I wouldn't be being objective, and I've prided myself on being objective. But for the most part, we've gotten some solid material heading into Revolution. It was very well laid out, and coming out of Revolution, we do have a lot of good things to look forward to on AEW side of the fence, and we are going to dissect everything in depth. But as you can see, I'm not alone. Back with me once again, he's a DJ Storms Posse member, a long-term DJ Storms Posse member. He is a very passionate wrestling fan. He's got a lot of good material to share with us today. He's coming to us live from Oregon. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my guest, one of my top-tier DJ Storms Posse members, Mr. HooliGrim. How you doing, brother?
Good. Thank you for having me back on. Good to be here.
Now, I would like to ask you, we got a very newsworthy show, to say the least. That's putting it lightly. But I want to get your overall thoughts on the show from top to bottom, and where you think we are headed coming out of Revolution on AEW's side of the fence.
Yeah, there's a lot to say.
It's a lot to unpack, I know.
About last night's show, and we'll get into it, I'm sure. But it feels like, honestly, last night's show was kind of felt like a reset of sorts in different aspects. And moving forward with the announcement of a new pay-per-view concept in April, really looking forward to the new dynasty and what that's gonna bring. There was just a ton of stuff coming out of Revolution, so it set the groundwork for the year. And honestly, I'm more excited than I've been in a while when it comes to AEW and upcoming TV. So they did a great job.
Yeah, we certainly got a lot coming into Dynamite this week and then next week. Everyone pretty much assumes that Mercedes will be in next week, and it's almost like they've been teasing Serena Deeb, because Serena Deeb's been on Collision pretty much saying that no one can step up to her. I don't know. I think I know a woman that can step up to her, and she is she's Monet, if you know what I'm talking about. And then we got Okada potentially coming in, and I mean, Okada would fit like a glove in AEW. Okada's got a shit ton of material waiting for him in AEW when he gets there. We got a tag team tournament. A couple of questionable outcomes towards the end of the show, but we will get into that a little bit later. Before we get into the specifics here, where can everybody find you on social media?
It's a lot easier to read it than it is for me to describe it, so I've got it right here at HooliGrim on X. And if you want to follow me on TikTok, if you're into that sort of thing, I will be content creating over there shortly later on this year, probably closer to summertime. My @ there is HooliGrim, how I spell it normally, HOOLIGRIM.
Go check him out on social media, people. I'm sure you won't regret it, although I'm actually kind of frightened to see what his TikTok is going to look like. But regardless of that, I am going to reserve my judgment, and I'm going to tell you that you can follow me on social media at HistoryMakerDJS, both on Twitter or X and Instagram. Once again, at HistoryMakerDJS, because all I do is make history in everything that I do. Please make sure you go and you add my personal Facebook as well for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is One more time, all those links are in the description, as well as the link to Brittany Kay. She's a wonderful woman that does beautifully crafted designs of wrestlers. She also does Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, or just social media in general. Social media, Abbies and Banners. Go check her out if you're looking for a nice social media Abby banner or a great graphic design of a pro wrestler. Her Twitter, or X, is Brittany K5150, while her Instagram is Brittany K Designs. On top of that, please make sure that you go and like the stream no matter where you're watching it from, whether you're watching it on Facebook, whether you're watching it on YouTube, whether you're watching it on X or Rumble. We got a nice wide outreach, so we have a lot of avenues where you can view the stream from. On top of that, please make sure that you share it out to all people across the board on all platforms, social media, X, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, Rumble, whatever social media platforms that you may be using. It is very vital that you do so, because it is a known fact, and the guy to my right can attest to this. It's the fact that I make people's lives better in everything that I do. When I am a part of your life, it automatically becomes better. I don't make the rules. Yeah, I do. And on top of that, you also got to make sure, if you're watching on YouTube, to hit the subscribe button, whether it be to my channel or the Hardcore Sports channel. I believe we are 25 subs away from 1,000 subscribers over on the Hardcore Sports channel. So please go and hit subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and hit subscribe button on my channel as we are on the road to 2,400. And this is the most important part. Hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the absolute best time to be on YouTube. Do you know why? It is because it is the only time that you are going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Hold on, it's in here somewhere. I gotta find it. It's a little bit. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Look at it right there. This beautifully crafted, magical ace black comb. Look at it. It even says ace, because I'm the fucking ace of the IWC. Hold on. I gotta blow on it right here. I gotta go. I gotta blow. It is hot. It is sizzlating. And don't worry, James Punisecki, you got the comb, and we're going to light it up right here on Facebook, Rumble, X, and YouTube with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because like hot, fresh fried egg and a hash brown right off of the pan in the morning with a side of bacon and a fruit bowl and a bagel. It's a nice hot steaming breakfast buffet. I am just so good. I am succulent, tasty, the most scrumptious snack in the IWC, and everybody wants a piece of the Storm's Meister. It is a known fact. But anyway, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. Why don't we get straight into the festivities here on the Rewind? And I would like to thank each and every single one of you for tuning on in. Shout out to Earl, by the way, because I will be on the Wrestling Experience with Earl and Sarah this coming Thursday, where we will review Dynamite and the fallout from Revolution. Plenty of good material, because more DJ Storms equals a better life for everyone on this planet. Anyway, I gotta take a sip of my ice water right there. Let's start off with 0 Hour. There was 2 matches on 0 Hour, so thankfully they didn't really overload 0 Hour. 0 Hour started off with Private Party, Willie Mack, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh versus the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. That is the Acclaimed, the Guns, Jay White, and Daddy Ass. Pretty standard 12-man tag here. It wasn't horrible. I've seen worse. I've seen much worse than this. Crowd was into it a little bit towards the end, but dude, I've stated this before, and I'm going to say it again. The partnership with the Bullet Club and the Acclaimed, it's not working. It's not working. And the reason being is because their personalities are two polar opposites. The personalities do not gel together. I understand why they're doing this, and I do understand what the end goal is, and I really do hope that it's sooner rather than later, but dude, they need to break them up. It's a partnership that should have never happened. You would have been better off just having these two teams feud right out of the get-go. And we could have just gotten the unification match at Revolution, which would have made Revolution a little bit more important. Not to say that it needed that, because the show was important enough. But regardless, they elected to put the Bang Bang Scissor Gang together. It's not working. It flopped. They need to break up. The one positive that came out of this was the fact that Jay White, he called himself the leader in a promo after the match. So that right there is going to continue to fuel the breakup between the two. And then on top of that, he called a shot for big business. We got Darby Allin versus Jay White, which is going to be fantastic. And on top of that, I'd like to hope, cross my fingers right here, we get the turn and we get the title for title match at Supercard of Honor on April 5th in Philadelphia. And hopefully that is where Bullet Club Gold will win both sets of trios championships. And Bullet Club Gold, they are just going to reign supreme. They're going to be the top faction in AEW. Hopefully we get Juice Robinson returning as well. So that way Bullet Club Gold is rounded out and they're whole. But Bullet Club Gold winning both sets of trios championships at Supercard of Honor to make that show feel a little bit more important, that would actually be a very nice moment for them. But as we speak right now, dude, I mean, this shit's just not working. It's not working, and this was probably the most meaningless match on the show.
Real quick, looks like the wrestling gods have blessed you and us being April babies. I didn't realize that we're getting Supercard of Honor right before WrestleMania, so that week is going to be pretty insane.
April 5th. I was contemplating going, but I think I'm saving my money for Forbidden Door, which is going to be in Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Oh, nice. That'll be a good show, like usual.
But do you want to comment on this? Where is your head at?
I want to know. So, in my mind, one of two things. They've either taken Max Caster fumbling his rap last week and are turning it into something, or it was planned out all along. They had an idea to have him start messing up his raps on purpose for whatever. Either way, we're getting something out of him for getting his raps, because he did it again last night. So
he did. This is the third time he did it.
Oh, it's the third time. I've only seen twice. Okay, I didn't know he's done it 3 times. So they're definitely going somewhere with that.
That I will give them credit for.
That needs to be. I thought last night was a great opportunity at the end of it all, when Jay White kind of turned into the hype man for the show and grabbed the microphone. I thought it was a perfect opportunity for him. I honestly thought he was going to turn and break himself away from all that madness. And then he didn't. And I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But then after the show is over, obviously getting announced that we're getting Jay White versus Darby Allin, maybe for both Darby, this puts him back in the singles wrestling group now, and he can get off and running now that Sting is done, and him and Jay White should be a great show, and maybe that will also lead to Jay White maybe distancing himself from this whole clusterfuck of silliness that is.
I think Darby's leaving for Mount Everest on March 27th.
Well, and last night, and we'll get into this later when we talk about their match, but I thought about that last night after what he put himself through, and I thought, well, hopefully he's fully healed to climb Mount Everest in a few weeks, because my God, man, I mean, we'll get into that later, but yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, dude, we need the turn. The turn should have happened last night. And we should have gotten the build to Supercard of Honor, where we see Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold. We should have gotten the build up to that match, and Bullet Club Gold both sets of titles.
They're only doing this with Jay White and adding him to this because Juice got hurt, right?
I don't think it's just because of Juice got hurt. I don't think it's just because of that. I think
they would have done this anyway?
I think that he's in on this because of the simple fact that they're trying to give him something to do right now, because all the other singles title pictures, they kind of feel occupied. Roderick Strong is the international champion. Wardlow and Swerve and Joe, they're kind of occupying the world title picture. Christian Cage, Daniel Garcia, and Adam Copeland, they're occupying the TNT title picture. And then the Continental Crown, that was occupied by Eddie and Bryan. I'm not really sure where Eddie goes after that. But, to me, if they want to me personally, I would give Wardlow the Continental Crown Championship because I don't think he's ready to be the world champion at this stage of the game. Probably another year down the line, but not now. But I only feel like the reason they're doing this with Jay White is because they're trying to give the trios championships on both Ring of Honor and AEW TV something to do, and they're trying the spotlight, but it ultimately fell flat because the two personalities, they do not gel well together. It was just, it was good for a one-night pop, and that was pretty much it. Yeah. It was good for a one-night pop on Collision, and that was pretty much it. It should have never came to be, and we need to turn sooner rather than later. It's been 5 weeks too long. The only good side to it is the fact that it's not lasting very long. Thank God this isn't lasting like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, but this shit needs to end immediately.
It's been lasting a while, though. It's been quite a number of months, hasn't it?
No, it's only been since like the end of January.
With the Bang Bang Scissor Gang?
Yeah. It's only been about like 5, 6 weeks.
Oh, I swear I remember this being a thing last year.
No. This has not been going on for very long. Last year, Bullet Club was involved with MJF, with Jay shooting with MJF, and then Jay White was a part of the Continental Classic. And the Acclaimed, they were out because the Undisputed Kingdom threw them through glass.
That's right.
So, yeah, dude, this is meaningless. It was a meaningless match. It was a Rampage match put on the 0 hour, and that was pretty much it. If you could have taken this match off the show completely. You know what I would have done? Instead of this, I would have been better off giving Private Party and another tag team a showcase. I would have been much, 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 much more okay with giving like a Private Party and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett a showcase. That would have been a great match. Give them a Ring of Honor world title match or world tag team title match on 0 hour. That would have been a great tag team match.
I said yesterday I was on YouTube with some buddies watching, and what I said was, looking at everybody that was in that match, a lot of them are already established, and I was looking at it from a perspective of who could stand to use a real boost from being in this whole situation. And the names I came up with was Private Party. And then I started thinking, but what is this really doing to help elevate Private Party? I feel like Private Party, they just keep sticking them with people that have already been established. And I get that they're learning from like the Hardys and running with them for a little bit, and now they're away from the Hardys, and now they're doing their whatever they're doing now. And I realized that Mark Quinn was injured for a long time, and that derailed them. And then I'm watching Cassidy, and he's doing Whisper in the Wind and Swanton Bomb and doing all the Jeff Hardy moves, and I'm like, Private Party's really good. Like, why don't they get an opportunity to showcase like what they can do as a team on their own? But with this upcoming tag team tournament, I'd really like to see Private Party just be the team that they are and not be affiliated with other teams or other talent as coming out as like seeing Isaiah Cassidy coming out with other talents all the time. It's like, I would just like them to get more of a shine because they're really good.
And they had like 2 solid matches with Top Flight, and I thought to myself, you know what, they could have made a little mini feud out of this, but they seemingly went away from that. But I hope that this tag team tournament that will really put them where they need to be, even if they don't win. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, we need to get rid of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. It was never going to work. Never going to work.
Yeah, it was funny the first night, and it's become quite cringy since.
I'll tell you what was not cringy. Pac is coming back. Pac is coming back. We had a promo package of Pac just being the insane psychopath that we all know and love. And my God, is Pac going to be a major, major asset to AEW TV? Just looking at the roster right now, I don't even give a fuck. If you are going to give me Pac, then give me Pac versus Will Ospreay at Wembley Stadium.
Thank you.
Give
Thank
me
you. That
Pac.
was the first words
If
out of my
Will
mouth
Ospreay is
yesterday.
not fighting Omega, if Will Ospreay is not fighting Omega, give me Ospreay Pac. That's all I need.
Ospreay Pac at Wembley, it's meant to happen, bro. I just feel like it's coming.
If Omega's not back by then absolutely. Because we need to get Omega Ospreay Part 3. We need to round that out. And I think Ospreay beating Omega in Wembley would be fantastic. But if Omega cannot do it, although he's looked better, he has looked better, which I'm very, very happy because diverticulitis ain't no fucking joke. So I'm glad that he's doing better. But if Omega's not ready, give me Pac Ospreay.
Yeah, Tony Khan at the scrum alluded to somebody asked him a question about Omega being ready for some upcoming show, and Tony Khan said it would be unrealistic to put that expectation that I don't remember what show it was. I don't remember if he said All In or if it was a show coming up.
I think it may have been Dynasty. I think it may have been Dynasty. Like the Dynasty, there's no way.
There's no way.
Maybe. I can see him being back by July. It all depends on what he's doing and how he's doing because he's been out since like mid-December. So it's already been 2.5 months. So I'd like to believe that he's somewhat better. But again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor.
Yeah, Will Ospreay, as soon as Pac said he's getting towards the end of that promo he was cutting, or that in that vignette, and as soon as he said he referred to AEW as like an infected scrotum of a company, and just when he uttered those words, I just thought to myself, oh, please let him come back and don't just have him do a match here or there like he was doing. Like, have him be a regular. He needs to be on weekly TV.
Well, he was injured. That's why he was taken out. He was supposed to be at Wembley. He was taken out.
I just feel like even since AEW started, we really haven't seen as much of Pac as I would have liked to have been seeing from him the last 4 or 5 years, for whatever the reasons are, injury, visa issues, whatever.
It was injury, and then we got the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then like it's just kind of been on and off with him.
Right. And I hope this kind of gets him on track and he can stay healthy and we start getting a good healthy dose of Pac, because man, is he, like you said, going to be a boost for the company when he gets back, for sure.
I'll tell you what has been boosted. The women's division has been boosted a lot this year. We've been getting some really solid women's matches on AEW TV on all their shows. We've been getting a lot of showcases from Queen Aminata. I've been very impressed with what Queen Aminata's been doing. Serena Deeb, Thunder Rosa, Timeless Toni Storm. But we had a women's tag team match, which I'm very happy that these 4 women got a showcase. It was Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander taking on Julia Hart and Sky Blue. And I actually told you this on X before we went live. These 4 women put on a better match than Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. And not to disrespect Toni Storm or Deonna Purrazzo, because it's not that they put on a bad match. They were never going to follow the match that they followed, which, again, we're going to talk about. But this was a very good women's tag team match. These 4 women, they were given about 14 minutes, and they went out there and they worked their asses off. And I was very, very impressed with what we got. Clear as day, Sky Blue, my God, the improvement of Sky Blue has been a wondrous thing to watch. And Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, I mean, need I say more about those 2 women? Those 2 women are women's wrestlers. They're not just pretty faces. They are women's professional wrestlers. So they're going to go in there and they're actually going to fight. And we ended up getting a very good women's tag team title match, or not a women's tag team title match. There's no women's tag team titles in AEW, but a women's tag team match. We had some double vertical suplex spots by Willow and Statlander. They were in control. Willow was then isolated. She was caught with a clothesline by Sky. Then we got a tag to Statlander. Statlander lit up both women with a double springboard elbow and a double running senton. Willow was in control. She tagged in. Hart was hung upside down in the Tree of Woe, while Sky Blue was in a prone position. We had Julia Hart getting out of the way as Willow delivered a cannonball to Sky Blue. We had a Death Valley driver by Willow on Julia Hart for a 2. Super kick by Sky on Willow for a 2 count. Willow with a drop kick from the middle rope. Statlander and Julia went blow for blow. Julia had Statlander down. She delivered a beautiful moonsault. Willow was just able to make the save. I actually thought that would have been it. We had a big boot by Sky and a diving drop kick off the apron by Sky to Willow, which looked very nice. Back in the ring, we had a double lariat by Statlander. Willow tagged back in. She pounced Sky Blue. My God, do I love Willow's pounce. Sky Blue sold it very nicely. Loved the pounce by Willow. And then we had Statlander with a drop kick on Julia Hart and Willow Nightingale with the Dr. Bomb. Very nice Dr. Bomb on Sky Blue. And Willow wins the match 1, 2, 3. Very good showcase match for all 4 women. And they actually set the pace very nicely for the rest of the show. So the women's division, it's the women's division and the tag team division that they're slowly starting to come together very nicely. And the women's division, with what we've been getting, you're slowly starting to see the women, they're stepping up their game. And this match proved that they are stepping up their game because they know that they got to be on top of their game when Mercedes comes on in. You do not want to be in the rear view mirror when Mercedes comes in. You want to be ahead of the fucking pack. So Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Sky Blue, and Julia Hart, they put together a very solid match. And I can't really sit here and say anything bad about it. And Willow and Statlander, they got the victory. I'm not really sure where this is going, but I don't want to disrespect Julia Hart, but I think we need to get the TBS title off of Julia Hart only because of the fact that when I look at Julia, I'm not going to say that she hasn't improved because she has, and I'm very, very happy that she's getting a showcase. But when I look at Julia Hart, I don't see one of the best. When I see a Statlander, when I see a Willow, when I see a Thunder Rosa, when I see a Serena Deeb, when I see a Toni Storm, hell, fucking Riho is a better wrestler than Julia Hart. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Riho mark. I'm saying that because it's true. Riho and Trisha Dora put on a better match on Rampage than Julia put on with Anna Jay back at Battle of the Belts in January. So I don't want to disrespect Julia, but I think we need to put our best women forward, whether it be for the championship title pictures or the undercard feuds. We need to put our best women forward when Mercedes comes on in, because if Mercedes is going to be the figurehead, you are going to want the undercard for the women, the women's title, the TBS title, and any other undercard feuds. You want every single aspect of the division to have their best women at the forefront. And unfortunately, Julia Hart is not one of them. If possible, let's get the TBS title on either a Willow, a Rosa, or a Serena Deeb. That's what I'm looking at. But I'm going to throw it over to you.
This match was good. I did a lot of, what's the term I'm looking for? I was thinking a lot. Yeah. I was thinking a lot during this match about Willow and her whole presentation and how they package her. And then I thought about, like, you know, why can't WWE do this with Nia Jax?
I think they are, though, because Nia's actually been tolerable over there. I'm not going to say she hasn't.
I feel like, well, obviously Willow is a better wrestler than Nia Jax. That's a given.
Clearly.
But, you know, she's not a small woman. And the way she looked yesterday, she looked like a star to me. And I really noticed her, like I was looking at her ring attire and then the ring attire that WWE puts on Nia Jax. And I'm like, AEW is handling Willow, in my opinion, correctly. And she looks like she shines every time I see her. And I was really impressed with her. Sky Blue, I didn't even recognize her. Oh, she's had a transformation. She looked really good. Julia Hart, everybody was obviously making comments about her ring attire, and accentuating parts of her anatomy. And when she came out with that entrance, I was actually calling her the Undercaker. But
we're gonna have to get that
I
trending
agree
in
with
the
what you're
chat.
saying though about Julia Hart though.
Hold on. Get that trending in the chat. Hashtag Undercaker.
Yeah, Undercaker. She had the Undercaker entrance, which I was laughing at. But in terms of Julia Hart, I feel two things were happening by her getting the TBS title. One, it kind of gives her a little confidence boost in her knowing that, okay, this is AEW saying, look, we see potential in you. You're the future going forward. Keep doing what you're doing. We've noticed improvement. It's kind of like a little bonus they gave her maybe to keep her motivated and to want to keep improving. And also it lets the fans know, hey, this is somebody to take seriously. Like, nobody gets a belt that's just going to be an afterthought, right? So it did two things. It served two purposes, in my opinion, by giving her the title. But in terms of what you were saying, I agree. Now her holding a title seems kind of like you've got all these women in here that are clearly more advanced in their in-ring work than she is at her stage of the game. Now, mind you, that's no fault of her own. She's young and doesn't have as much experience, and she will get there. But as far as her holding a title, when you've got all these other women like Willow and such in there, it does seem kind of like it doesn't fit with her holding the title. So I would be for her dropping that title sooner rather than later, just to further the division and set in stone what else Julia Hart needs to do to continue her growth and progression.
We'll see what happens. I definitely do believe that they showcased the women's division correctly in that tag team match. I think with this match and this victory, I would say Willow has earned herself a TBS title match. And if we do get that match, I'd say that should take place at Big Business. That takes place at Big Business, and we pull the trigger on Willow Nightingale. Unless you're going to give Willow Nightingale the victory over Athena finally at Supercard of Honor. Because right now, I don't know where the fuck they're going with Athena going into Supercard of Honor. Because if Athena has proven one thing, I think it's about time we get Athena on AEW TV right now. We need to have her drop the Ring of Honor women's world title to someone else. I'm not sure who, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
I don't think Athena wants to be on weekly national television, or she'd be by now. I really honestly feel like there's some reason why she's content with being the Ring of Honor women's champion and working whatever shows that they have her do there. And maybe, but who knows? Maybe she's waiting. Maybe she gets put on AEW's roster when Mercedes comes in. Who knows?
We'll have to wait and see, but I think
she definitely needs to be on AEW weekly television. There's no reason for her not to be, unless, like I said, it was requested by herself for whatever her reason might be.
Well, she said that Ring of Honor is her priority right now, but I think Supercard is the time where she needs to lose the title. It's either Statlander or Willow. Statlander or Willow would be two of the best options right there, because she just dispatched of Nyla Rose on Ring of Honor TV in a 2 out of 3 falls tables match. So I think we need to move Athena up the ladder now and move her onto AEW Weekly TV.
Yeah, facts.
The main show started off with Daniel Garcia and Christian Cage for the TNT Championship. And this was a very old school match. Really nothing over the top. It was a very old school underdog babyface and dastardly heel match. And it didn't even need to be over the top, because every single move that they did, they paced the match very nicely. They told multiple stories throughout the match, and the crowd was eating out of the palm of their hands. They wanted a Daniel Garcia win. They actually popped big for when Daniel Garcia hit the pile driver, and we're going to talk about it in just mere moments, because we're going to go over everything that happened here. Daniel Garcia came out in Sting-inspired gear, which looked awesome. That was a very nice tribute by Daniel Garcia, and you could tell how much Sting meant to Daniel Garcia growing up.
Shivani said that his jacket was given to him by West Side Gun. that West Side Gun had that
Really?
jacket made and gave it to Daniel Garcia. Yeah.
Wow. You see, now that right there is a cool moment. So Christian was in control early, very technical start. We had a flying crossbody off the top to the floor by Christian. Garcia, he then worked on the leg. The leg was the story here. Christian sent Garcia to the floor. Garcia then, he sent Nick Wayne into the timekeeper's area. Garcia and Cage traded some strikes. We had a flying elbow by Garcia, 10 punches in the corner. He actually pulled the turtleneck over Christian Cage's head. So once again, Christian Cage's turtleneck muscle tee being used against him. So then after that, we had Garcia with a wrecking ball drop kick. Christian was sent over the steps. Garcia caught with a backbreaker for a 2. Christian then went up top, and he went for a diving headbutt, but Garcia slightly moved out of the way and caught him in an ankle lock midair, which looked very nice. It was in deep. Christian got out. Christian went for a sunset flip out of the corner, but Garcia caught him and held him up for a little bit into a backdrop driver. That got a 2 count. So we then had Garcia being slingshotted into the buckle. The referee was distracted because of Mother Wayne, and we had Kill Switch delivering a choke slam to Garcia behind the ref's back. Christian with a frog splash. Garcia kicked out. Matt Menard then came out, and he sent Kill Switch into the post. Matt Menard then punched Kill Switch and took him to the back. Christian, he went for the spear, but his leg gave out. Daniel Garcia took advantage, caught him with a pile driver. The crowd came to their feet. We had 1, 2. Christian kicked out at the last possible second. And that right there, I'm not going to lie, I thought that was it. I'm not going to lie. I legit thought Garcia won it right then and there. So after that, we had Nick Wayne from out of nowhere striking Garcia behind the ref's back. And then we had Nick Wayne getting out of harm's way. Ref didn't see him. Christian with a kill switch. 1, 2, 3. Christian Cage retains the TNT championship. A couple things. First of all, Christian Cage is phenomenal. Christian Cage is phenomenal. And at 50 years old, Christian Cage right now it could be argued that he's on the best run of his career. It could be argued that right now Christian Cage is on the best run of his career. He has made the TNT title into something of substance. This is the best that the TNT title has looked since the days of Darby, Brody Lee, and Miro. Christian Cage is doing God's work right now. Secondly, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I'm very surprised that we did not see Adam Copeland here. I had it in my mind that Copeland was going to cost Christian the TNT championship, and Garcia was going to get the big win because Garcia's popularity has skyrocketed. He's got everything that you want in a pro wrestler, and the fans love him. And when he speaks, it's genuine. He sounds real. He got himself over with a fucking dance. He got himself over by doing a fucking hip thrust dance. And no one wants to boo Daniel Garcia. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hand with every move that he does. And pairing him with Christian, it just amplified his star power and his stock even more. However, it could have swung either way. You could have gone with Christian. You could have gone with Garcia. I'm assuming that Copeland will be back sooner rather than later, and we will have Copeland going up against Christian probably at Dynasty in April. And we are going to see Christian Cage and Copeland finally end their rivalry, and then we'll go forth with Killswitch and Christian Cage leading into Wembley. Now, Daniel Garcia, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but man, the place would have fucking exploded if Daniel Garcia won the TNT championship. That would have been one hell of a moment for him. However, I'm not sure if they're going to keep him around the TNT title picture, but I do have an idea, and I pitched this a couple of weeks back before Garcia being involved in this TNT title match was even a thing. Roderick Strong beat Orange Cassidy to win the international championship. And the Undisputed Kingdom, they're getting on the right track. What they need right now is a big-time babyface. They need a big-time babyface to kind of be the yin to their yang. So if they want to, It's right in front of their face to build up Daniel Garcia versus Roderick Strong at Wembley and give Daniel Garcia a big moment at Wembley by having him win the international title from Roderick Strong. I mean, it's right there. If he's not going to be in the TNT title picture, if he's not going to be floating around that title picture, Roderick Strong dropping the international championship to Daniel Garcia at Wembley would probably be the best route to go. There's no way that you cannot make Daniel Garcia a top priority. He's been a top priority since the start of the year. You need to keep it that way. You need to keep it that way. Garcia, Takeshita, Jay White, and Will Ospreay. Those are, and Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue and Statlander, those individuals, the young talent, those are the individuals that you need to keep priorities for the rest of the year. And I hope that they make sure Daniel Garcia stays in that spot, because with this loss, even though he did lose, his stock rose from being in there with Christian Cage. This was a very good match. It could have swung either way, but selfishly, I was pulling for Daniel Garcia. But I'm going to let you have the floor here.
I feel like in terms of his singles career, Christian is on the best run of his whole career, in my opinion, right now. I think a lot of people were thinking Daniel Garcia was going to win yesterday, but after the match was over, I mean, I just kind of thought about it, and you've got to have somebody take that title that can elevate it, or that the title is going to help elevate them. And Christian has elevated that title so high. I don't know who's going to come in and take it from him, to be honest with you.
Garcia would have been a good choice, though.
Yesterday, I don't think so. I think that Garcia's got to be built a little more, because that's just how the level that Christian has put that title on, in my opinion. I don't feel like anybody to take it off him right now would be believable enough. Now, Garcia, I agree with everything you said about him, and as we go on, he grows more and more on me. His in-ring work is there, I feel like, and is getting better all the time. There's something about him, and I don't know if maybe it's a look, maybe because right now he's just himself. He's Daniel Garcia. I don't know if they put a gimmick on him or change his ring attire. There's just something. He just doesn't come across as quite a finished product in my mind yet, if that makes sense. Like, it's like one or two things missing from his overall appearance and how they present him. And I feel like once they get that, then I feel like the fan base as a whole will be able to embrace him as a superstar, whether it's a face or a heel. And he's doing there, but I like that they're at least consistently putting him on weekly TV, putting him in matches that mean something on pay-per-views, and they're keeping it consistent. Like, unlike with like a Will Hobbs, where they like push him and then stop, and then start pushing him and then stop. You know what I mean? So that's good for Daniel Garcia's career, I think, and he's just getting better and better. And it's clear that the crowd. I mean, he's the first guy to come out when the show starts, and I took notice immediately of the pop that he got. It was a huge reaction from the crowd. But let me just shout out Nigel McGuinness real quick, because the commentary for this match was something else, man. And Nick Wayne wearing his "Christian is my father" T-shirt. And
I need to get that shirt.
Right. And then Nigel McGuinness making reference to that and saying that Christian might be Nick Wayne's father, but Nick Wayne's mother calls him daddy, if you know what I'm saying. And when he said that, I lost my shit. And then he goes, and then he made something. Shivani makes a comment and goes, "Oh Lord!" And Nigel McGuinness says, "Hey Shivani, last time anybody called you daddy, one of your kids needed some money." And he goes, "That's why you had to start your OnlyFans account." And I just died laughing when Nigel McGuinness said that. It killed me for a while.
Nigel McGuinness, I don't give a fuck what anyone. Nigel McGuinness,
he's great, man.
He's the best commentator right now. Did you see his reaction to Mariah May on Collision? On Twitter, dude, like Mariah May, like, you know how Mariah's got her simps over there,
right?
And Mariah blew a kiss to Nigel, and then Nigel legit.
He fell out of his chair.
And you just hear Tony Schiavone goes, "This is a pathetic grown man," and he's got his hat, he's got his old man hat on, and he's like fanning himself. Nigel is fantastic.
How he comes up with that stuff on the fly, especially like knowing that you're live on air, that's a skill that's hard to master, and he's great in that role. He really is.
You know what was my favorite Nigel McGuinness line in AEW so far? When Brian was in the Continental Classic, he goes, "I don't know why anyone thinks that I'm biased against Danielson. Danielson's actually my second favorite guy in the tournament." And then I think Kevin Kelly goes, "Well, who's your first?" And Nigel goes, "Every other participant in the tournament." He is fantastic. He is absolutely fantastic. And I don't know. I do not know how WWE let him go. He makes every single match that much more entertaining with his commentary.
Well, I know how they let him go. His name is Vincent McMahon.
But let me ask you this. Copeland and Christian, is that the direction for the TNT title? And then for Garcia, where does Garcia go? Because I got my plan for Garcia.
Well, here's the thing. Like you brought up that you were surprised that Adam Copeland didn't make an appearance. I totally forgot that he was a part of this whole thing, to be honest.
He got hit with a
like there was no point in that match yesterday where I even remembered Adam Copeland or thought, "Oh, okay, when is he coming out to interfere?" So that tells me really one main thing, and that is how good the two guys in the ring were going at it, that I wasn't even thinking about outside interference or whatever else had been going on with the storyline between Christian and Adam Copeland. I guess Christian keeps the title because Copeland's gonna go after it, I'm assuming. I'm not sure.
Well, here's the thing. If Copeland takes it off of Christian, then we got our TNT title match for Wembley, and it's Copeland and Takeshita. That's what we need. That's what we need. And Takeshita beats Copeland.
So you think that Takeshita is going to get that title before Adam?
No. Adam Copeland will beat Christian, and then Takeshita.
Oh, Takeshita will. Okay, got you. So Copeland will get the title.
Yeah. Okay. But if Daniel Garcia is still going to be a priority, then Garcia, Roderick Strong, Wembley Stadium, with Garcia winning the international title. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah. But Christian, it was it was a really good match. I thought I was actually okay with the outcome and Christian winning because, like I said, in my mind, I don't see right now who's at that level to take it from Christian and keep running with it. He's just done so much for that title to make it him and the title both. I mean, you've got to have them both on the show. That's how good he's done with it. So I guess they just keep that going until they decide when they want to make that change.
Yeah, I was fine with Christian as well, but holy shit, that crowd would have fucking exploded. In the first match, they would have exploded if Garcia won that title.
Yeah.
The first match.
He's definitely over.
Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson, AEW Continental Crown Championship. And man, these guys, they went balls to the wall. This wasn't flippy, this wasn't floppy, this wasn't any crazy high spots. This was just two guys going in there and beating the ever-living shit out of each other. And that's exactly what we got. This was very, very hard-hitting. It was a little bit more ground-based, but it was very, very, very intense. A lot of kicks, a lot of chops. Really, really, really good stuff. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for Ospreay and Takeshita, and if it wasn't for the main event, I would have probably put this match as one of the best of the entire night. Probably, to me, this was easily in my top 5 matches of the year thus far. I was glued to the television, and there were a couple points in time where I actually thought Brian was going to win. So we had Eddie with a tope suicida right out of the gate. Brian then sent Eddie into the post and then delivered a suplex off of the apron. Both men crashed in a heap. Brian caught with an exploder suplex. DDT by Kingston for a 2. Brian got out of the stretch plum. We had a drop kick in the corner by Brian. A second one. And then a penalty kick to the back. Dragon suplex for a 2. Big chop by Brian. Brian then with an avalanche butterfly suplex into the label lock. And then he transitioned into the double armbar, or the omoplata, as Nigel McGuinness so beautifully put it. Kingston Kingston would not tap. Kingston was able to get out. He had an enziguri, spinning back fist, and a Northern Lights bomb. Bryan kicked out. We then had Eddie selling his hand. The hand was the issue. The hand was just giving Eddie problem after problem. And then Bryan started working on the shoulder. So it became the right hand and the right shoulder. So the crowd was trying to get behind Eddie. Eddie was then hit with a Busaiku knee. Eddie just kicked out. Crowd was chanting, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. Stomps to the head. Triangle sleeper was in tight, but Eddie Kingston would not fade. He would not fade like he did on Wednesday's Dynamite. He was able to get to the ropes. Bryan then with the kicks. Eddie then pulled his straps down and asked for more. Half and half suplex by Eddie. Bryan pops back up. Regal plex by Bryan. Eddie pops back up. Half and half by Eddie. Both men down. Crowd was standing, clapping, chanting, "This is awesome." Kingston then slapped Bryan. He was front-handing him and backhanding him with his left arm instead of his right. Bryan then slapped Kingston back. Bryan was then hit with a lariat. Eddie Kingston fought through the pain and delivered a power bomb. Very tight cover. 1, 2, 3. And Eddie Kingston retains the championship in what was his best match as Continental Champion to date, and perhaps the biggest win on pay-per-view to date, minus his win against Moxley. And you know what was so great about this? What was so great about this is the fact that Eddie Kingston, he was the Continental Champion, and he's going out there and he's defending the title. He's a very proud champion. And Bryan Danielson is going out there and he's just ignoring him. It's so, you know what it reminded me of? It almost reminded me of Aleister Black versus the Velveteen Dream, where the Velveteen Dream just wanted Aleister Black to say his name, but Black wouldn't give it to him. And Eddie Kingston, all Eddie Kingston wanted was respect. All he wanted was for Bryan to finally shake his hand, and Bryan wouldn't give it to him. Bryan would not do it. He wouldn't acknowledge Eddie Kingston. Bryan would walk out there, and he would walk right past Eddie Kingston, and he was trying to make Eddie Kingston lose his cool. And then he low-blowed Jun Akiyama on Collision, and Kingston just lost his shit. It's such a simple fucking concept. Such a simple fucking concept, which resulted in an excellent fucking match. And then finally, after all this time, Bryan finally gives Eddie Kingston his respect, and he raises Eddie Kingston's hand, shakes his hand, and Eddie Kingston finally gets the acknowledgement from Bryan, just like the Velveteen Dream wanted his acknowledgement from Aleister Black. And that's what makes this entire thing so great. It's such a simple fucking story, and when you book a simple story, you're going to simply get a great match and a great crowd reaction. And that's exactly what we got. And it's very, very hard for me to really sit here and say that this wasn't one of the best matches of the year thus far. Crowd was hanging on every move that they did. Excellent stuff, right outcome. And Bryan Danielson, I mean, if you want to look at one of the most selfless wrestlers in the history of the business, I mean, look no further than Bryan. Bryan knows what needs to be done in order to get new talent over. HooliGrim, let me hear it.
I started with the mentality I didn't really care to see Eddie Kingston again. I feel like he's a great wrestler, but I also feel kind of like similar about him that I do Daniel Garcia. I feel like there's a part of his presentation that's like he's not all the way polished. There's something missing from his overall look and presentation as a character. That being said, he looked really good. I liked his ring attire. I thought he looked more like a professional wrestler in the ring yesterday than he has in past matches. As opposed to just like a guy off the street, like kind of how he reminds me a lot of time when I see him like the Brooklyn Brawler. Just his look. You know how Brooklyn Brawler always wore jeans and a t-shirt and didn't really look like he had full wrestling gear on all the time. That's kind of how I see Eddie Kingston. They had a really great match. Bryan Danielson, I wouldn't want to take chops from that guy either, or especially when he grabs Eddie's hands and starts stomping his head when he's laying on the mat. I mean, he was literally stomping on his head. Like he wasn't pulling those kicks. He was stomping the shit out of his neck and his jaw. And when he did it the other night, I don't remember if it was on Dynamite. I don't remember what show it was on. He was doing it to Eddie then, and Eddie's face was just the whole side of it was all swollen and red, his neck and his cheeks and his jaw. And I thought, man, no, thank you. But it was a good match. I don't understand. I thought they were unifying these 3 belts. I get that if he's gonna, I get you can't really converge them into one if you're gonna also be on New Japan's show with their belt, and he's got a Ring of Honor belt and whatever. There's just a lot of belts.
I think that he's going to lose them all separately, to be quite honest with you. I never really understood the concept of unifying them all. If they wanted to, because here's the thing, they're from 3 different promotions. We got the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship, the Ring of Honor World Championship, and then the AEW Continental Crown Championship. If anything, we need to have Kingston lose the Ring of Honor World Championship to Mark Briscoe at Supercard of Honor.
Yeah.
And that right there will, give Mark Briscoe something to do. Yeah. And that will make Mark Briscoe a face of Ring of Honor. And then Eddie Kingston, he could probably go to New Japan and lose the Strong Openweight Championship to someone else. And then we got the Continental Crown Championship, whoever you want to put over there. I mean,
because doesn't New Japan do a tournament of sorts towards the summertime? Don't they do that every year?
What?
They have some sort of yearly tournament, don't they?
The G1
IWGP,
Climax.
The G1 Climax. There you go. So it's getting ready. I feel like they're shortly, within the next couple of months, Eddie will probably be heading over there to deal with that.
But as far as the match goes, I mean, it was fucking excellent. Excellent.
It was a great match. I just don't like seeing Bryan Danielson in title matches. Like, let him at least win one. I know he's at the stage of his career. He's there more to help get these younger guys established and to have good matches with them and to help get these younger guys more known and more over. So I understand his role that he's playing. Just maybe not put him in so many losing title matches. Like, if he wants to lose matches, that's fine. But
I mean, the last time he was in a title match was in October. He hasn't really been in a title match since October.
It just makes the fans. I noticed yesterday, like, a lot of people were agitated at the fact that he's losing title matches, and I think overall, from a fan's perspective, I think people are having a hard time understanding, like, what the purpose of all this is and why Eddie Kingston just, I don't know, that thing where he does the Hulk Hogan hulking up and stuff, just really, I wish they'd eliminate that from wrestling, but it is what it is. These are just little minor gripes. It was a great match. I mean, those guys have great matches every time. So
here's the thing. The one thing that trumps over everything is the fact that the story was all about, Eddie Kingston finally getting his respect, because you take a look at Eddie Kingston. I mean, he won the Continental Crown Championship. He won the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. He won the Ring of Honor World Championship. He won the Continental Crown, but yet Bryan still doesn't respect him. So Eddie's kind of like, all right, I'm going to fucking beat your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. And when I do beat your ass, you're going to fucking shake my hand. And you're finally going to give me the respect that I deserve. So that to me just trumps over everything, because it was all about respect, and something that Bryan just would not give Eddie until last night.
I saw something interesting on X. Somebody had posted the little segment of Bryan and Eddie backstage when they were sitting in the doctors. Yeah. And then somebody had commented on how surprised, they alluded to the fact of how surprised they were at that segment, given the fact that supposedly, according to this person that said this, Daniel Bryan and Eddie Kingston hate each other in real life.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They
I had no idea.
And they did that. They did that, and they played up to that in real life.
That kind of shit, working it into matches, it's never ever. I've never seen a match where they took some real life behind the scenes beef and incorporated it into a feud that the two guys were currently having in the ring, I've never seen that end badly. It always enhances what's going on in the ring, knowing
I
that
mean,
there's a
look
little
at
bit of
Sean and Brett.
yeah.
I mean, it just
Like
works.
there's just something about knowing if two guys hate each other in real life and then you see them in the ring. I feel like that just adds a little more immersion to a feud.
Oh, by the way, we got 18 people watching right now. We got a large crowd. Large
Let's
fucking
go.
crowd, people. I
Fuck
appreciate
yeah,
y'all.
let's go.
We're gonna continue
Hit
on
that
here.
like button.
Yeah, you better hit that fucking like button.
Wherever
Let's
you're watching
continue.
from, hit that like button.
Let's continue here. Let's talk about Chris Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Dante Martin, Magnus, Hook, Brian Cage, and Wardlow. All-Star Scramble match. And the winner gets a shot at the AEW World Championship. And to quote my friend Earl, as he would say, this was woolly, wild, and all over the place. Woolly, wild, and all over the place. Absolute chaos, and it was entertaining as fuck. Entertaining as fuck. We had a lot of crazy spots. And one positive thing I will say is this. This was the match that I was least looking forward to, but it ended up being a fairly decent 8-man scramble, and everyone got their shit in. Everyone got their shit in. Everyone was able to do their thing. And that, I believe, is one of the most important things when it comes to a multi-man match, because some multi-man matches are they don't really have a vibe where everyone looks good. And they don't
Right.
really have a vibe of, oh yeah, everyone's going to get their shit in. But in this match, everyone was able to get their shit in and everyone got a little bit of a showcase. So the four big guys faced off and we had some shoulder tackles. The crowd was chanting meat, meat, meat with every single strike that they delivered. We had a meat forever chant, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite chants ever. Meat forever. I fucking love it. And it all started with Chicago. It all started with Chicago with Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro. Meat forever. Meat forever, baby. So Wardlow sent Powerhouse Hobbs to the outside. Archer, and my God, I love me some Lance Archer. Lance Archer with a Murder Hawk moonsault, the old school tightrope walk into the moonsault. I love that shit. That looks fucking great every time.
Trying to show up the Undertaker with that one.
Yeah. I think he does show up the Undertaker because
Well, he does because he does a freaking moonsault off the top rope. When he did that last night, I was like, oh, geez. I mean, he's almost 7 feet tall. I don't think I've ever seen a 7-footer do a moonsault off the top rope before.
Dude, I don't get it how the man is almost 7 foot.
He said 6'8" or 6'9", I think they said.
Dude, and he's like 47, 48, and he can do that. He's pushing 50, and he can do that.
I was gonna say, wasn't Lance Archer like a long time ago on SmackDown way back in the day?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
He was Vance Archer.
Vance Archer.
He was in fucking SmackDown versus Raw 2011.
I didn't even put that together until yesterday. I don't know why that light bulb went off in my head yesterday, but I was like, Lance Archer, wasn't he like a long ass time? Yeah, that would put him up there in age, but he doesn't look like he's 50.
So we had Magnus and Dante going at it a little bit. Jericho with a crossbody on Hobbs. Suicide dive on Brian Cage. Magnus then took out Archer. Hook went up and delivered a double axe handle to Brian Cage. So everyone's diving on everyone. We had a 4-way superplex spot. And Cage actually with a deadlift superplex on, I believe it was Dante. That always impressed me, how Cage can do that shit. I believe Cesaro used to do that back in the day. Dante went for a not a suicide dive, a tope con hero. He got tripped up on the rope. So thank God that did not end badly. Thank God Dante was able to catch himself because that looked bad.
He's got to be careful, man, because when his toe stuck in the mat and then he went forward, I immediately thought, oh no, he's re-snapped his leg or something like that. Like I just initially thought.
But thank God he was able to catch himself.
Yeah.
So afterwards, he was able to get everything back on track, thankfully. That was the only fuck up throughout the match.
Yeah.
Which was surprising, actually. I'm not going to lie. The fact that match went, like 15, 16 minutes, and that was the only fuck up in the match, I call that pretty impressive. But Magnus came in with a 619 and then a cutter, which looked very, very nice. Then we had Lance Archer coming on in, and Lance Archer was hit with a double suplex by Jericho and Magnus, and then Jericho and Magnus with stereo lion salts on Archer, which looked nice. We had Hook getting hit with a lariat by Brian Cage, Magnus with a power slam on Dante, and then we had Hobbs coming in, hitting a power slam on Archer. We had a spine buster on Brian Cage by Wardlow. Cage then with a super kick to Jericho. And then all of a sudden we had Hook and Jericho facing off, that's actually an intriguing match in its own right. Hook delivered a Northern Lights suplex on Jericho for a 2. And then we had a T-bone suplex by Hook. We had a World's Most Dangerous Slam on Jericho by Hobbs. And then Jericho used a fog machine to take care of Powerhouse Hobbs, and it looked like they were taken out momentarily. Brian Cage then with a big knee and an F5 on Hook. We then had a powerbomb. Dante then took out Magnus. We then had a moonsault on Archer for a 2 by Dante. Wardlow then took out Archer, and then he took out Hook with a lariat. Hook was out for the time being. Jericho was out. Hobbs was out. Magnus was out. Archer was taken out. And then Dante was the only one left with Wardlow. And then Dante was hit with it. And I mean, I love this shit from Wardlow. Wardlow's got a great last ride powerbomb. Last ride powerbomb. He held them there, spiked them to the mat. 1, 2, 3. Wardlow wins the All-Star 8-man scramble as expected. Absolutely chaotic, crazy shit. Not one of the best matches of the night, but it did its job. Everyone got their shit in, and Wardlow got the victory. Now, Wardlow winning was the right outcome, but here's the thing. They booked themselves into a corner, and I'm not sure what they're going to do, but after the main event, it almost looks like they're leaning more towards Wardlow winning the championship. It honest to God, and on top of that, after what happened with the international title picture after the match, it looks like Wardlow is going to win the world championship, and they're going to use that to break Wardlow away from the Undisputed Kingdom and potentially swap him out with a new member who made his return after nearly 2 years away, which we will discuss. But, dude, when Wardlow fights for the world title, this is ending one of two ways. We either need to have Wardlow win, or MJF needs to come back and cost him. There's no in between. One of those two things need to happen. If neither one of those two things happen, then Wardlow, you may as well leave. Wardlow is pretty much done. Wardlow will never surpass where he is right now. Listen, the Undisputed Kingdom, this was a great step in the right direction. And then what happened afterwards just added. The Undisputed Kingdom is slowly starting to come together as a very solid faction. But if Wardlow loses clean, or if he doesn't win, like I'm talking about if he doesn't win because of MJF, that would be fine. But if he doesn't win clean straight up, dude, I don't think that Wardlow's ever going to recover. They really fucked up Wardlow bad to a point where he almost either has to win or MJF needs to reemerge and start up the program with the Undisputed Kingdom. And I don't think he's ready to come back. He tore his fucking labrum. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for. I don't even know if he got surgery or not. And if he did get surgery, he's probably going to be out for a year. Dude, I don't know. But listen, this was the right outcome. The match did its job, but it's one way or the other way for Wardlow. It's either Wardlow is cost by MJF or he wins clean or he's done. That's pretty much it.
I've been calling Jericho lately. Well, Jericho, he's been dubbed Jerigoat by me for the last number of years for his run since AEW started, for helping get the company off the ground, for everything he did in the beginning stages of the company's life for the first couple of years. I've been vocal about saying he belongs. You got to add a fifth head to the Mount Rushmore, and Jericho's got a case to be on it. But as of late, I feel like it's been egomania running wild, and I've been calling him Jarek Hogan.
How? I mean, like, dude, he tapped out to Takeshita last month to his own finisher.
Because I just feel like sometimes Chris Jericho has got to make himself feel relevant to himself, and I feel like sometimes he's booked for things that he doesn't need to be booked for, and I felt like this match was one of them things. However, at some point he gets back in the ring, and I realize, oh, I forgot Jericho was in this match. Where the hell has he been this whole time? He really didn't have a lot. He didn't really like overshadow or take up a lot of in-ring time during that match, which I was actually ended up being surprised and happy with for one.
He doesn't need to. I mean, you take a
Right.
look at what he's been doing. Like, he's been losing a bunch of big matches.
And I honestly think maybe not necessarily against Jericho, but maybe more on Tony Khan's side of things. I think Tony Khan understands how over Jericho is with his entrance, and everybody likes sing along to Judas, and I'm sure that's always a factor in why Jericho maybe sometimes gets on matches where he doesn't really have a whole lot going on storyline wise. I think Tony Khan maybe just books him so that people can sing the song.
You know what his problem is? You know what his problem is? His problem isn't the fact that, you know, he's taking up any spotlight, because if you take a look at what he's been doing, look at what he's done in the last year. He put over Ricky Starks twice. He put over Will Ospreay. He put over Ricky Starks and Big Bill when they fought for the tag team titles 2 months ago. He tapped out to his own finishing maneuver to help get Takeshita more over. And then he put over Sting, and Sting didn't need to be put over by Jericho, but Sting won, and Jericho lost to Sting on 2 separate occasions over the summer. So it's not that he's taking up a spotlight. I think at this stage of the game, it's like Jericho's done everything.
Yeah.
Jericho right now, he's just done everything to a point where it's not that he's taking up a spotlight. He's just there. He's just kind of there.
Right.
And there's really nothing over the top with Jericho, unless like they really want to have him turn heel, and then maybe if they want to experiment with him in the TNT title picture, or experiment with him in the international title picture, that I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind whatsoever. But you know, you take a look at everything that Jericho's done, and it almost feels like there's nothing left for him to do. It's like if he wanted to retire tomorrow and call it a career, I don't think anyone would bat an eye, because there's really nowhere left for him to go.
I agree with that. I think he was very smart in making Judas his his theme song. That like, the more I think about that, the more I feel like that was a genius move on his part to give him the ability to get booked on a show that he's not really in a major storyline or going after a title, but he's got that song and everybody wants to sing it, so book him on the show, right, for the feel good moment. Smart.
But this isn't about Jericho. This is about Wardlow. So
back to Wardlow. Jay Floyd in the chat made a point a few minutes ago, and I wanted to get your take on this. He says, I don't get needing contender matches on a pay-per-view. What do you think about that?
It depends. It honestly depends. It depends on the scenario. It depends on if it makes sense. Now, the only reason why this match was made was because there are people that was supposed to be involved in the Meat Madness match that are injured. Keith Lee's injured. Miro, I believe, was injured as well. I'm not sure where Jake Hager is. I'm not sure if Jake Hager's got problems going on or if he was injured, but The reason why this match was made is because the Meat Madness match was canceled because of injury. I wouldn't have put this match on the show. I wouldn't have put this match.
That's what I was going to say.
I wouldn't have put this match on the show, but
it wasn't needed.
It wasn't needed. It wasn't bad, though. I'm not going to sit here and say
no. And for an 8-man, usually, like you said, if it's an 8-man tag match and you've only got like 4 guys at one time, those usually turn up. But like an 8-man usually turns into a clusterfuck. The cameramen don't know who to focus on. You miss a lot of action. I'm not really a big fan of the matches a lot of times, but they got enough guys out of the ring, taking spots and he's down, and they did it right. Like it was good for what it was, but
they paced it well. That much I will say, but I wouldn't have put it on the show. But in terms of overall, I don't mind it. It would depend on the scenario. Like if you want to do like a tournament, with the finals taking place at the pay-per-view, and it's like a number 1 contenders tournament, like that's not a bad strategy because it gives a match more stake. So it honestly depends on the scenario. I can't really say no. I can't really say yes. If
I would have waited to do this match until after this pay-per-view, honestly, because then you get the result with Samoa Joe and Hangman and Swerve. Then you have the number 1 contender. Especially now that we know that Adam Page's status going forward for the foreseeable future. We'll get to that later. But I just would have done this contenders match after this pay-per-view, not on it.
I guess it usually depends because, to be quite honest with you, you could have made a case for any one of those guys to win the world championship and go fight Wardlow.
I think it just caused confusion because this match happened before we saw Joe and Page and Swerve, so we were already thinking, okay, Wardlow's number 1 contender,
but we don't know who wins. So, because here's the thing, it depends on who wins. Because if Wardlow won, that didn't really give away the ending, did it? It didn't. It didn't give away the ending of the triple threat match. Any one of those.
No, I'm not saying it. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we knew that Wardlow was the number 1 contender before we see the world heavyweight match.
Well, yeah, because the world heavyweight title goes on later in the show.
Right, and that's why I'm saying I would have had this number 1 contender match after the pay-per-view, like maybe on Dynamite or something like that, because it threw it coming on before the title match threw confusion to everybody. Like, wait, now Wardlow's being inserted into the already going Samoa Joe, Swerve, and Hangman storyline. Well, how's that going to work?
Well, no, it's not necessarily that. He's not being inserted into the storyline. He is
the title picture is what I mean.
Yeah, he's pretty much waiting to see what happens afterwards. But I get what you're saying. I wouldn't have done it on the show, but it didn't necessarily make the show worse.
No, it didn't make the show worse. I just, like I said, it caused confusion for me and a lot of other people, and it made me like, okay, well, what are we about to see with this title match? Now that Wardlow's obviously it confused me. I'm like, why is Wardlow getting a number 1 contender right now?
All right, so let me move on. Well, actually, let me ask you this before we move on. What happens now? We know where we're going with Wardlow now. We know who he's fighting. How are they going to end this? How are they going to book Wardlow when he fights for the world title? Because there's only 2 ways that it can go. And one way I don't think is going to happen because the guy that is going to end up costing Wardlow or should cost Wardlow is hurt.
Correct. And if we talked about this before we went live, so if what you're thinking happens, that makes the most sense, but he's injured. And we don't know his status, how long his hiatus is going to be. Sarah says that last she heard, MJF was going to just rehab his shoulder. So if he doesn't get surgery and he just rehabs it, however long that process takes, who knows? But what we do with Wardlow, I'm not exactly sure because I feel like we need an end result to the storyline currently going before we can just throw Wardlow in the mix. But obviously there's a status issue going forward with Hangman Adam Page, which we'll talk about. So it's kind of like, well, then do we go with Wardlow against Joe? And what does that mean for Swerve? Do we put Wardlow over before Swerve?
Well,
When
here's the
Wardlow's been so
question,
start and
though.
stop, start and stop, start and stop. I don't know.
Here's the thing, though. Swerve, right now, Swerve, like you can experiment a little bit with Swerve as long as he doesn't take a lot of pinfall losses, which he hasn't, because the stronger that you keep Swerve, the better. And Swerve was kept strong last night. The question is like with MJF, is it a completely torn labrum or is it just partial? If it's partial, he can rehab it just fine. But I don't know. You know what? You know what Sarah just said? She
Yeah.
said something. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's either that or Wardlow has to win the championship, and then they kick him out because
I
he will
forgot
not
that
win.
the Undisputed. It totally spaced my mind that Wardlow is affiliated with the Undisputed Kingdom.
So we'll talk about that when we get to the world title picture. But speaking of the Undisputed Kingdom had a very good night. Aside from Wardlow becoming number one contender for the world title, Roderick Strong, he took on Orange Cassidy for the international championship. I'm actually going to let you take this first because, dude, I was shocked regarding this match. Not because of the outcome. I think we already knew the outcome that was going to happen. But,
yeah,
dude, Orange Cassidy got the shit kicked out of him. The thing that shocked me the most is the fact that Roderick Strong legitimately wrestled circles around Orange Cassidy in this match. He legit dissected him and tore him limb from limb. I'm shocked right now that Orange Cassidy can still walk after how many fucking backbreakers he took in that match. I'm dead shocked.
what's awesome about Roderick Strong is how when he goes to do a basic traditional old school wrestling move like a backbreaker or a rib breaker or something to that effect, the way he positions his opponent before he actually, it's not just traditionally backbreaker and that's it. Like the way he hoists a guy and spins him around into the move and puts his own little twist on it. I'm never not impressed with Roderick Strong, and I haven't really seen that much of him. I don't know how often he wrestles weekly because I don't catch all of the AEW shows on a weekly basis. And seeing him yesterday took me right back to the run that he was having in NXT Black and Gold with Undisputed Era and some of the matches that he had in NXT. Like we were talking about this earlier, and you always talk about Gunther and how hard that guy chops. I'm not trying to. I don't really want to take too many chops or any move whatsoever from Roderick Strong. And when he got Orange Cassidy on the second rope and did that tilt-a-whirl release midair and let him fall on the ropes and just ragdoll to the I've never seen that done before. He's so impressive. He was throwing Orange Cassidy around like he weighed nothing.
The guy did a fucking gut wrench power bomb to Orange Cassidy on the
That's what it was.
turnbuckle.
It was a gut wrench, and then he kind of spun it like a tilt-a-whirl.
Picture Jake Hager when he was
Yeah.
Jack Swagger doing a gut wrench power bomb. He did it on the fucking top rope.
But he released it midair and spun him too at the same time. I've never seen that.
Dude, how is Orange Cassidy walking after that?
I don't know, but he took some. There was one little. Roderick got him up almost. I thought it was going to be like a suplex sort of move, and he spun him. And then the way Cassidy came down, it was like an inverted chest breaker, rib breaker, they called it, or something like that.
Inverted gut buster.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. He was throwing Orange Cassidy around like effortlessly, and they're about the same size. So that was really impressive to me that he could just grab a guy from a laying position off the ground and just pick him up like a sack of potatoes and just let him go like he was nothing. Roderick Strong's got to be on TV a lot more. I'm glad that he won. I'm glad that he's got this title. I think he'll do good for the Intercontinental Championship. It kind of creates some
international.
It'll create some interaction between him and the boys of his faction, because I'm sure there's going to be some jealousy that he's got a title before some other people has one, and that'll also tie into the whole Wardlow, Adam Cole dynamic. So yesterday, and Orange Cassidy needed to get that title off him, I think. It was time.
It was time for Orange Cassidy to move up. It was time for him to move up. I do think that Cassidy, He's going to be involved in new title pictures. He's going to
Mhm.
be involved with the TNT title. I do
Mhm.
believe he's going to be involved with the world title at some point. But yeah, dude, this was a dissection. This was fucking like what we're talking about. Like, this is basic biology class where you're fucking dissecting a frog. That's what
Mhm.
Roderick Strong did to Orange Cassidy.
It
Orange
was rec
Cassidy did
it was a
not get a
clinic.
lot of offense in.
It was Wrestling Clinic 101. Like, he just did, Roderick doesn't do flashy, crazy, flippy, divey stuff. He just literally beats the shit out of you.
So immediately, right out of the gate, Roderick Strong, he targeted the back of Cassidy. Stiff chops, backbreaker after backbreaker, gut wrench power bomb on the top buckle. It looked fucking nasty. Cassidy just fucking collapsed. He just couldn't do it. So Roderick Strong then with a tilt-the-world gutbuster on Cassidy. He tried to follow up, but Cassidy with a stun dog millionaire. Cassidy couldn't follow up on the stun dog millionaire. Strong delivered another backbreaker. So every single time Cassidy tried to mount the comeback, he could not get more than 2 moves in on Roderick Strong. Every single time it was just backbreaker. This was like Messiah of the backbreaker, Roderick Strong right here. This was old school shit. So Strong, with the stronghold, Cassidy was able to get out of it. He had a satellite DDT and a diving DDT for a 2. Strong then was able to kick out of the Panama Sunrise. We had a half Nelson backbreaker by Strong. Love the half Nelson backbreaker. Cassidy with the orange punch. Strong was able to get back up. Cassidy went for beach break, but he could not do it. He finally got the beach break in, but Strong got his foot on the rope. Strong was able to end this, and you know what I love about this? He won this clean. No interference. No interference from the Undisputed Kingdom. That's what I love about their booking. They win shit clean. High knee by Strong, end of Heartache. It only went about 13 minutes. And with the end of Heartache, 1, 2, 3, Roderick Strong dissects Orange Cassidy, and he wins the International Championship. Absolutely the right outcome. And Roderick Strong is now celebrating with the Undisputed Kingdom. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kyle O'Reilly emerges. He rises up from behind Strong and Taven and Bennett. Crowd's going nuts. He then embraces Strong. Strong then gifts him an Undisputed Kingdom t-shirt. Kyle O'Reilly says no, places it on Strong's shoulder, whispers something in his ear, and leaves. Like I said, man, the Undisputed Kingdom, they started off rough, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault, and it's not Tony Khan's fault. The only fault it is the fault of unfortunate injury. Because I've talked about this before. The Bloodline, coming out of WrestleMania 38 2 years ago, the Bloodline was a dead faction. And it's not because they're not great. It's because they were on an island unto themselves. There was no one, and I mean no one, to stand toe-to-toe with them and look credible. There was no babyface to have them bounce their heel magnitude off of. And then in came Sami Zayn. And when Sami Zayn came in, Sami Zayn became the yin to the Bloodline's yang. Sami Zayn became that babyface that the Bloodline was able to work off of, which in turn made for a great story. That was going to be the case with MJF and the Undisputed Kingdom. It is of no fault other than injury that the Undisputed Kingdom does not feel as important as they should have, because MJF was going to be that babyface that the Undisputed Kingdom was going to use to elevate themselves up the totem pole and to elevate themselves to where their heel magnitude is at their highest. They can't do that with MJF injured. However, Revolution was a step in the right direction. Wardlow looked like a beast. Roderick Strong looked like a beast. And we got a story now with the Undisputed Kingdom, with Kyle O'Reilly now back in the fold. I think we're about to have ourselves a new member of the Undisputed Kingdom sooner rather than later. And it's going to come at the expense of Wardlow. Wardlow, whether he wins or he loses, Wardlow is ultimately going to be the guy that gets kicked out. Wardlow's going to get kicked out, and the Undisputed Kingdom are going to replace Wardlow with Kyle O'Reilly. And then in turn, Wardlow, he's going to have no one left to turn to but MJF. And then MJF and Wardlow, they're going to recruit FTR and then someone else. And it's going to be the Pinnacle versus the Undisputed Kingdom, potentially in Blood and Guts. If MJF has a partial labrum tear and he's rehabbing his shoulder, MJF could very well be back within the next month, for all we know. Again, I'm not a doctor, not going to pretend to be one, but if it's a partial tear, I'd like to believe that that will take less time to heal rather than a full tear. So if anything, if things play out correctly, we could be headed towards a major Blood and Guts match. Now, I'm not sure who the fifth man is going to be. Maybe it's Hangman. We don't know. Maybe it's Hangman, because Hangman, he was taken out by the Undisputed Kingdom. The Undisputed Kingdom made a lot of enemies. So if they want to, there's a lot of people that they could plug in to be the fifth man of MJF and Wardlow's group when they do the Blood and Guts match. But in the end, this storyline now with Kyle O'Reilly being back, Strong's the international champion, Wardlow's a threat again. I'd say the Undisputed Kingdom, they're slowly but surely making their way up the ladder, and they're slowly getting to where they need to be. They started off bad because of an unfortunate injury, but Revolution was definitely a move that was very much needed. They did what they needed to do, and Roderick Strong, he's now got Kyle O'Reilly breathing down his neck. We don't know what he said. So now it's all up to AEW now. They're going to tell that story of Kyle O'Reilly potentially joining the Undisputed Kingdom down the line. And then whenever this match with Wardlow and Joe is, that right there is ultimately going to decipher whether or not the Undisputed Kingdom will add Kyle O'Reilly into the mix. But Roderick Strong, man, absolutely kicked the shit out of Orange Cassidy.
Yeah,
absolutely
facts.
Shit out of him. And we got something to look forward to now. We got Kyle O'Reilly now in the fold. But what did you think of Kyle O'Reilly's return, and where do you think the Undisputed Kingdom is headed going into the future?
People were saying, "Oh my God, Kyle O'Reilly," and I don't know if my stream had started slowing down or what. But I was like, "Where's Kyle O'Reilly? Where's Kyle O'Reilly?" And then I see him come out of the crowd or whatever, and I just had a feeling initially. I thought, okay, when he got in the ring, I was like, okay, they're gonna try to bring him into the group, and then I can't think of his actual name. I always call him Mr. Kanellis.
Mike Bennett.
Mike Bennett, sorry. He goes to give Kyle O'Reilly a shirt, and I knew Kyle O'Reilly wasn't going to take it. I just had that feeling. I thought a brawl was about to happen, because at first the way Kyle gets in the ring and he's looking all menacing behind Roderick Strong's back, I thought he was going to attack him, right? And then he didn't, and then I'm like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so he's going to join with them, but then he didn't join with them either. So I'm very intrigued what he said to Roderick Strong before he left the ring. And do you think, I don't know, Adam Cole just being wheeled down in the wheelchair, I had the thought, like, he can't still be injured. Like, he's got to be playing this. Like,
Dude,
I just feel like at some point he's just going to stand up
His ankle's shattered, dude. I think he'll be back in about 2 to 3 months. I think he'll be back in May. But dude, his ankle.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just carry on with him in the wheelchair and then they use it as kind of like he's actually been healed a lot longer than he was letting on type of deal, to the element of surprise. You think someone's injured and they jump up out of the wheelchair and you're like, what? I think
kind of like how Linda McMahon did at WrestleMania 17.
Correct.
So are you saying that we could see Adam Cole end up costing Wardlow the world title because he knows that Wardlow's not going to give it up to him when he's fully healed?
I think we're possibly more than likely heading that direction, yes.
then when does this world title match take place? Does it
I don't
take
know.
place
That's why I'm
at
saying
Big Business?
having the contender match before come on, obviously before the main event match threw in so much confusion to me. I don't know. I haven't had enough time to think that far down the road.
Well, then if that's the case, then what can you see happening then? Do you see this blood and guts match happening with the Pinnacle versus Undisputed Kingdom? Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
When O'Reilly came back, I had a feeling, yeah, he's not joining now, but he will later down the line. But the question is, when does this title match take place? Because when the title match takes place, that will then result in the turn, and then O'Reilly will officially become a member of the Undisputed Kingdom.
I'm wondering if they do sort of like a fast track title match, maybe on a Dynamite with Wardlow, and give his title match on a weekly show as opposed to a pay-per-view. And I was thinking, like, if they did that, if they say, okay, his title match is, let's say they give him his title match at Big Business, you could right away start that storyline going. You wouldn't have to drag it because we've got like what 7 weeks until Dynasty, April
7, 8
21st.
weeks. Yeah,
Yeah,
7, 8
so
weeks.
so there again, there's a good chunk of time in between pay-per-views. I
Oh,
wouldn't
by the way,
wait.
we're going to talk about Dynasty and what as well and what it could mean.
Okay. But I would give Wardlow his title shot right away and start off. It would eliminate the confusion, and then we have a sense of direction of how the next number of weeks is going to go. Because for me right now, I don't know, like you said, when does that title match happen? I don't know. With what's going on with Hangman, how long is he going to be gone for? What does that mean for Swerve? Joe's going to obviously keep working as champion.
Yeah, a lot of questions. A lot of
Mhm.
questions.
So I don't have an answer for your question as to when you would do that title match, but I feel like for Wardlow's sake, for the Undisputed Kingdom's sake, because of the hits they've been taking due to injuries with their storyline, give Wardlow his title match sooner rather than later and have Undisputed Kingdom do what they're going to do, and then maybe we'll have a more clear direction as to where Wardlow's going in this number one contender position.
So after that, after the mauling that Cassidy took at the hands of Strong, we then go into some tag team action. It is the Blackpool Combat Club versus FTR. Tag team fucking wrestling, man. Tag team fucking wrestling. I was very much looking forward to this match, and
best.
these two outdid their match on Dynamite. And it really does seem like, and I talked about this with you before we went live, tag team division, man, the tag team division, it's back in shape. It really is back in shape. We've seen some really good tag team matches this year. We've seen a lot of teams get a showcase. We saw Blackpool Combat Club versus Shane Taylor Promotions on Collision, House of Black versus FTR, Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Jericho and Sammy, Sting and Darby versus Ricky Starks and Big Bill, Private Party and Top Flight. We have a lot of tag teams in the mix now, and it looks like that Tony Khan saw the tag team division falling on a bit of dark times last year, and he thought to himself, you know what? Going into 2024, I'm going to revitalize the division. And that's exactly what he did. This right here just added on top of AEW's tag team matches that we've seen this year thus far. And to me, this was the best tag team match of the year. So far, FTR Blackpool Combat Club, best tag team match of the year thus far. It started out slow, but they crescendoed into a really, really, really good match. We had some great double team maneuvers, and FTR was protected in defeat. This one honestly could have swung either way. I would have been okay with both. This one was probably one of the most unpredictable matches on the show, next to the world title match. It was the world title match and this match that was extremely unpredictable. And in the end, North Carolina, they gave a lot of energy to this match for the last like 6-7 minutes. The last 6-7 minutes of this match, man, the fucking moves and the double teams and the sequences that they went through were fucking unbelievable. And it really looks like the the tag team tournament, it could very well be another step in revitalizing the tag team division. We got Blackpool Combat Club in there, Top Flight, Private Party, Ricky Starks and Big Bill, FTR. We got House of Black if they want to put him in there. Mark Davis could be coming back. Maybe we see the reunion of Aussie Open. Maybe Aussie Open is involved in the tag team tournament. Best Friends as well. I believe Chuck Taylor's cleared. So we got the Best Friends in there. Got a lot, man. We have a lot of good material in the AEW tag team division. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this tournament to a certain extent. But we had Moxley and Claudio coming out with Road Warrior gear. Now that I thought was badass.
I popped for that. The first tag team I ever really, I saw the Rockers. I saw a number of WWF tag teams when I was young. But the team that really captivated my attention was Legion of Doom. So when they came out with the shoulder pads on, that popped me huge yesterday. I jumped up and I was like, yeah, let's go.
I wasn't expecting them to do that, but dude, that was awesome. That was
badass.
Great. Some of these throwback gears were really good. And then what happened before the women's title match? That popped me. What happened before the women's title match? But we'll talk about that after this match. But they came out in Road Warrior gear, and to me, I thought to myself, you know what? I can't help but feel like this is trying to just spit in the face of FTR, because Claudio and Moxley, up until last year, they weren't a real tag team. So it's like they're almost trying to spit in the face of FTR, like, well, what the fuck are you gonna do now? Well, now look at us. We got the matching fucking gear. So I thought that was a nice little dig at FTR. But so Cash was isolated before he got a tag to Dax. Dax hit a crossbody on Claudio, roll up for a 2. We had a lariat to Cash for a 2 count. Dax was bleeding. Dax was then bleeding. Claudio, this was great. You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of American Alpha versus the Revival. We had Claudio in a doomsday device, and he caught, I believe it was Dax, coming off of the top in a power slam off of the electric chair that he was in. It reminded me of when Gable did the same thing to Dax all the way back at NXT TakeOver The End back in 2016. That I got flashbacks from that. So that got a 2 count. We had an air raid crash combo by the BCC for a 2. Moxley then traded strikes with Dax. Dax with a pop-up powerbomb. Shout out to Kevin Owens. We had the stuff pile driver. Stuff pile driver connects. Tope Suicida by Cash on Claudio. Moxley kicked out. Claudio, now this was my favorite spot of the match right here. This was my absolute favorite spot of the match. Claudio, might I remind you that this man is 46 years old, 47 years old. Claudio and Moxley set up FTR. Dax Harwood was on the shoulders of Moxley in an electric chair. And Claudio steps up on the ropes and does a fucking springboard uppercut off the top rope to Dax, sending Dax to the floor off of Moxley's shoulders. Fucking step up uppercut, doomsday device combination. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Cash then with a crossbody onto Claudio to break up the pin. Crowd was chanting AEW, AEW. Moxley with a cutter. Giant swing by Claudio on Dax. Moxley with a drop kick. 1, 2, and we had a kick out. Moxley then bit Cash in the head. Dax then spit blood back at Moxley, like just kind of a little fuck you to Moxley, like fuck you. You want to bite my head? Spit the blood right back at you. So we then had a shatter machine after Moxley kicked out of the Doomsday device. So we had the Doomsday device, Moxley kicked out, shatter machine on the money, which looked beautiful, and Claudio was able to pull Moxley out of the ring and save it. Tope Suicida by Cash. This looked fucking brutal. Tope Suicida by Cash, and in midair, in mid-suicide dive, Cash was in the air. This wasn't just like a measly stop where, oh yeah, he's in between the ropes, so he's going to be cushioned. No, Dax was in mid-fucking air, and Claudio hit him with an uppercut. Absolutely cracked his neck up. Absolutely unbelievable. Moxley then with a Death Rider. Dax was able to kick out and then roll up Moxley. I thought that he had him there. Close 2 count. Moxley then rolled over into the rear naked choke. And then Claudio came in, rear naked choke on Cash. Double chokes. FTR did not tap out. They passed out. FTR was protected in defeat. And Moxley and Claudio get the win. And afterwards, they were staring at each other. They gave each other a little nod like, yeah, you know what? Listen, I'm not going to shake your hand, but I'll give you a nod because, you know, you gave us a fight. And FTR gave the nod right back. And it ended up being a great match. It ended up being a fantastic match. Started off slow, but it ended up being a great tag team match. And if you're asking me, man, I would not mind Moxley and Claudio becoming the new tag team champions. I did not think that they would work this well as a tag team. Now, granted, they're working with FTR, but dude, Claudio and Moxley were out there working like a well-oiled machine. I did not think that Claudio and Moxley would have that much chemistry. Really, really, really good stuff right there. Great tag team match. Could have swung either way. I was fine with the Blackpool Combat Club taking the win for multiple reasons, but I will let you say what you want to say, and then I'll talk to you about why I'm loving Moxley and Claudio in this tag team division. But ball's in your court.
So my favorite wrestling is tag team wrestling, and there's an element to tag team wrestling, I think, that you just don't get watching singles matches. My favorite ever since I can remember has always been tag teams. And so I was real excited to watch this match. I started thinking back in my mind during this match of the tag teams in AEW, how good their division, how good the tag team division is. If they were all healthy and working and active, they've got probably the best tag team division in the business on any roster. And I'm just like, man, I'm so blown away. And then I thought about it, I was like, made me think about the Briscoes versus FTR and their trilogy. It made me, and then I started thinking about all, like, I keep coming back to one constant in all these matches, and it's FTR. I mean, if they're not, like, if you ask me who my favorite tag team was, I'm going to always say the Briscoes. If you ask me what tag teams I'm into right now, I would say BCC. I would probably say a bunch of names before I even got to FTR. But then the one constant in all of these feuds and matches that I have in my mind is FTR has been a part of mostly all of them. So for me, that automatically just elevates them to the top of the heap, regardless of if they got a title, if they're winning at pay-per-views. They beat the shit out of whoever is in the ring with them. And when you're facing a Moxley and a Claudio, they're also going to beat the shit out of you. And by the end of that match, FTR is over by the ropes on their knees. And like you said, they weren't going to shake hands or whatever, but they nodded like, as a, you know, that was their little sign of respect. Like, yeah, we acknowledge you type of deal. I could watch those guys literally fight every week. If you, if you booked them for Dynamite every single week, I would be okay with it, just because I know what we're going to get every time the four of them get in the ring. I get a little squeamish. I'm a germaphobe. So the getting the guy, you know, getting somebody's blood all over the other guy, and then Moxley sitting there, and it's like, I've seen guys get spit on before, but it's usually like a wad that hits a guy. This was like a stream that seemed to get into Dax's eyes, and his mouth was open, and I was just like, whoa, like, oh my god, bro, like, please stop swapping bodily fluids, like, I'm gonna get sick. But that also brings an element of like grittiness, griminess to the match. You know, it just lets you know, like, these guys are not leaving anything out there. They're doing whatever they can, and I'm always going to choose tag team wrestling over singles. They could have done this weekly, every pay-per-view, just let them fight forever. They got the BCC and FTR have got one of those kind of fight forever feels when every time they get in the ring. So I'm never going to complain about seeing them. Did it need to be on the show? I mean, that's up for debate. But
I don't know about you, man, but after seeing that match, I'm like, yeah, it absolutely needed to be on the show.
yeah, and I'm confused kind of by the booking of BCC because it seems like they usually have a tag match and a singles match at a show, and they always usually win one and lose one. And I don't know, and sometimes they
Because
swap.
it's because they're very versatile. That's why, because you can plug them into anything.
Yeah, I just wonder what the plan is by having. I felt like FTR needed that win, to be honest.
Did they though? Because they were recently just coming off a big steel cage victory with Garcia against the House of Black. See,
Well, what's
to
the point
me,
of having them win that and then losing this? I would have.
because right now FTR is they're kind of like Bryan Danielson right now. They're kind of like the Bucks where they don't need a championship in order to remain relevant, and they
Right.
don't need a championship to even be in a match on a show. You just put them in a match on the show. And this was a very simple story too. Similar to Eddie and Brian, this was a very simple storyline too. Because the BCC have been going out there and they've been saying, everyone wants to come out here and celebrate. Everyone wants to come out here and celebrate their victories. We don't fucking celebrate. This isn't a game to us. We go out there and we make sure that people take this shit seriously when they're with us. We make sure that these people take us and take this job and this business seriously. You either step the fuck up or we're stepping on you. And FTR stepped up. It's a very simple storyline. And FTR is like, they pretty much told them without actually telling them, like, let me tell you something. We're not just happy to be here. We're here to prove that we're the fucking benchmark for tag team wrestling. So I'll tell you what, we'll step to you and we'll fucking kick your ass. And that's exactly what we got.
Yeah. The BCC, I had a thought and my brain just lost it. So what I remember. So given what transpires the rest of the evening and what we learn at the scrum regarding the tag team division, it makes sense, I guess, when I think about it, to have the BCC win because FTR is already. We know that they're a team. They're not gonna. I mean, I know they had Dax doing a bunch of single shit when Wheeler was off doing his court stuff that he had to deal with. But they're a tag team through and through. That's what they're always going to be. So with this impending tournament, I think maybe BCC getting a win kind of lets the crowd know, maybe for the foreseeable future, maybe Claudio and Moxley get put into this tag team tournament, I think is what's going to happen.
I think they're going to win the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah, that could be.
You know why? And I'll tell you why this is a great thing. Number one, this is a great thing because it boosts the tag team division up as a sense of, hey, this is a legit fucking division. We're going to have Claudio and Moxley, the Blackpool Combat Club in there, and we're really going to put them in these matches, and we're going to get some real raw and gritty tag team wrestling. That's number one. Number two, it gives Claudio an opportunity to be a champion again in AEW. Right. Because right now, all he has is his 2 runs as Ring of Honor World Champion.
I was going to say, he actually gets to be an AEW champion.
Yes. Now, listen. He was a great representative. His second reign as World Champion was very good. And the matches that he had with Kingston and AR Fox and fucking Pac and God knows how many other people, his matches as Ring of Honor World Champion were awesome.
Yeah, he deserved that run too, in my opinion.
Yes, he deserved that run. So he's already got a world title underneath his belt. Mm-hmm. But now it gives him the opportunity to be a champion on AEW TV, and it takes Moxley out of the singles division and gives more opportunities to other people that want to break out in the singles division. People like a Sammy Guevara, a Jay White, a Ricky Starks, or a Kazuchika Okada who's coming in. Or it gives more of an opportunity to someone like a Wardlow in there, a Roderick Strong, who's the international champion now. it takes him out and puts him in the tag team division to help out not only the division, but Claudio as well. And on top of that, I mean, he's pretty much been selfless these last few months. He lost to Rey Fenix at Grand Slam. He lost to Orange Cassidy at Full Gear. He put over Eddie Kingston at World's End. So if he's going to go and get a tag team title reign with Claudio, I can't really sit here and say that, oh yeah, that's a terrible use of Moxley. It's not.
I don't think it is, because Moxley, when you think about it, he was a day one, right? And so now 5 years into this company, Moxley's done as a singles. I mean, you could make a case like you were saying about Jericho. What else can Moxley do? I mean, you can have him do a number of things, right? But in terms of,
I would love to see him as a TNT champion, but as of right now, I mean, the tag team titles, I think they would benefit from Moxley.
I think this is more interesting going forward with Moxley, putting him in the tag team division, because I feel like as a singles wrestler, since he's already been fighting the Kenny Omegas and been at the top of the card and been AEW champion, fighting for a TNT, I don't know. I feel like with who's down in that division now, I feel like that's almost demoting Moxley. I get like he would be enhancing the people down there and help building them up, but I feel like,
dude, Moxley's bulletproof.
I know he's bulletproof, but for me, and like I was noticing on X yesterday, a lot of people seem to be kind of, I'm not bored with Moxley, but I think a lot of people are getting complacent and they're starting to feel like his singles stuff is just becoming rinse and repeat. And this kind of keeps him fresh. This gives him a new dynamic. It gives him a little bit of a lighter schedule, I think, being in a tag team, and let him and Claudio beat the shit out of some tag teams. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I honestly do believe that they're going to win. I do believe that he is going to completely dominate, and I mean, like, completely dominate the division with Claudio. It just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, and it helps out the division and Claudio as a whole. Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm, AEW Women's World Championship match. First of all, Mariah May is an absolute fucking beast.
She got everybody.
Mariah
May literally got everyone yesterday.
I swear to God, when Toni Storm's classic music hit and everyone popped and Mariah May came out, until the commentators said, "That's Mariah May," I thought it was Toni Storm.
Well, initially, I had said Mariah May because she's got the straight, long blonde hair, right? So as soon as they show her, I thought, well, Toni Storm has the short.
No, it's like curled up. It's curled up. That's why. So she could easily let it flow down. But oh my God, dude.
Right. And I thought at first, though, I said Mariah May out loud to my buddies. And then they start to zoom in. And I'm like, oh, wait, no. They must have just put a weave or a wig on Toni Storm. That's Toni Storm as they're zooming in. And then, so it was like, initially I had it right, but it was so good that I was like, oh no, that's Toni Storm, not Mariah May. I'm like, well, that's like NXT Toni Storm. I'm like, what's going on here? And then Toni Storm comes out and I was like, holy shit, it's not Toni Storm. Like, what's happening?
that was fun.
They really got me on that. Yeah, that was a good spot.
Whoever made that call, fucking awesome.
And it kept Mariah May looking like the obsessed stalker that she is of Toni Storm, right?
Well, let me tell you something here. Mariah May, though, like as a singles women's wrestler, Mariah May's fucking great. Like she looks like a pretty face, but that woman can hit hard.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, there was no way that they were going to follow Blackpool Combat Club and FTR.
No, they got stuck with the piss break match, unfortunately.
And here's the crazy part about it. It wasn't even like it was a bad match.
It wasn't. It was just a placement.
Bad match.
Somebody had to get that spot.
I thought that it was going to be the scramble match that got that spot.
You could have made a case they could have swapped places for that, and maybe the crowd would have been a little more lively for this match. But everything that had happened leading up to that, there was a lot that the crowd got to cheer about up until that point. And you know with the final 3 matches that were on the horizon,
yeah,
I kind of figured. I'm actually, though, surprised that the crowd was as quiet for this match as they were. I think they could have been a little more vocal, but it is
Well, yeah,
what it is.
because here's the thing. Like, this match had a very good build.
Yeah.
Like, the build between Purrazzo and Toni Storm, they told a very good story.
Mm-hmm.
They told a very good story, but I'm going to have to bring this up again. Aside from the fact that they were placed in a bad spot, and this is what I will say. If they wanted to, they could have kicked the show off with this. They could have kicked the show off with this match, and the crowd would have still have been lively for Garcia and Christian and Eddie and Bryan and every other match that followed. If they would have had this match at the start of the show, then I'm telling you, the crowd would have actually responded a lot better. Now, the second thing that I have to bring up, and I know for a fact that you had the same vibe, and you were thinking the same thing when we talked about this back at Full Gear. I don't think you were on the. Were you on the rundown or the rewind for Full Gear? I don't think you were.
I've been on enough times now to have lost track.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look, but I don't think you were on anything Full Gear related. But I remember talking about this during Full Gear. Similar to Jay White and MJF, no one genuinely believed that Deonna Purrazzo was going to beat Toni Storm. And it's not because she's not great. It's because it's too soon. It's not her time.
Why she just got here?
Yeah, exactly. Similar to Jay White and MJF. Why would you take the title off of MJF when he's going to hit 365 days? And then on top of that, Jay White, as of right now, it just wasn't his time. When it's your time, you feel it.
Right.
Even though Jay White is great, and even though Jay White is a world championship caliber wrestler, he was never going to beat MJF. He wasn't. Same thing with Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is not going to beat Toni Storm because why would she when you got Mercedes coming on in? The end goal here is ultimately going to be Mercedes versus Toni, with Mercedes winning the championship, whenever that may be. The one thing that disappointed me is no Jamie Hayter. You could have easily have had Jamie Hayter come on in, and I was actually shocked. I was shocked that we did not see Jamie Hayter at all. I was actually disappointed that we didn't see Jamie Hayter, and I would have loved, even if it was just for a one-night pop, I would have loved to have seen Jamie Hayter come out and reassert herself into the division, because that way you could have potentially built up a Jamie Hayter and a Mercedes, and those two women could be fighting over the right to challenge Toni Storm. Then it would have made the women's title picture a little bit more unpredictable and a little bit more exciting.
I agree with that, but I wasn't disappointed not seeing Jamie Hayter, just for the fact that I feel like that's coming in 2 weeks. I honestly feel like there's been this weeks and weeks of anticipation and build that Mercedes Moné is coming into AEW. Then we get the advertisement for Boston with the dollar signs, right? So then we're like, okay, for sure, that's going to be the debut of Mercedes. Now, a lot of times in wrestling, when they will show a vignette for weeks and weeks at a time of a new talent getting ready to come in, a lot of them times I remember as a kid, when we finally got to the point where it's time to unveil the person in front of an audience that we've been watching vignettes for, or there's been a lot of anticipation for this person coming in, doesn't somebody usually come in to spoil the debut or the surprise? I honestly think Jamie Hayter is going to spoil the surprise of Mercedes Moné in Boston. I think that's coming.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. But so Mariah May, I fucking combined her two names right there. Mariah. There you go. Look, we've been streaming for over 2 fucking hours. Give me a fucking break. So we had Mariah May coming out dressed as classic Toni Storm. We had a very technical start. Toni then with a mule kick to Deonna, although I don't really know how that would work out because Deonna does not have a pair of balls. But regardless, Toni then slowed the pace down. Deonna mounted a comeback with a couple of lariats and a high knee and a Russian leg sweep. Flatliner for a 2 count. Toni Storm with a hip attack and a DDT for a 2. Toni with an ankle lock. Deonna with a boot. Luther caught Toni. So then we were getting some classic timeless Toni Storm shit. Deonna then dove off the middle rope, and she dove onto both of them and took them out. That was probably the best spot of the entire match. We had a double Fujiwara armbar locked in. Luther got involved. Toni Storm tapped. So I'm assuming that they're probably going to have Deonna float around the women's title picture just a little bit more. So after Toni tapped, Deonna had to take out Mariah May, and then Toni Storm with the Storm Zero, and she won like that. I was actually shocked that it only took one Storm Zero to win. I actually thought that they were going to have it go just a little bit longer, like another 2-3 minutes. But all it took was one Storm Zero, and it was ultimately the timeless Toni Storm gimmick that was Deonna Purrazzo's downfall. It wasn't a bad match, but I mean, you could have put this match on a Dynamite, and it would have been better received. It was just in a very tough spot. It was probably the most forgettable thing on the show because of the bad spot that it was in and the fact that no one genuinely believed that Deonna Purrazzo was going to beat Toni Storm and win the women's championship because you got Mercedes coming in, and the biggest match right now that they could do for the women's division is timeless Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. And no one, and I mean no one, was following that mat classic between the Blackpool Combat Club and FTR. But I still was a little disappointed that we didn't get Jamie Hayter. I at least thought we were going to get 2 big returns. We were going to get O'Reilly. I actually wasn't expecting O'Reilly.
I wasn't either.
I thought we were going to get a return, but we got O'Reilly. I thought we were going to get Jamie Hayter too, but we didn't.
I think Jamie Hayter's coming because I honestly think she's got history with Toni Storm when she comes back. And then Mercedes is going to come in wanting to go after the title and Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter's going to have something to say about that, like, hey, don't forget about me, bitches, type of deal. And that could possibly set up maybe a 3-way between them or whatever they're going to do with that. But I honestly got the same vibe at the end of this match with Toni Storm as I did with Christian Cage's match. I thought about it because I saw a lot of people on X thinking, to counter what you said, a lot of people thought yesterday Deonna was going to win that title. I was not one of them.
Who the fuck did?
I wasn't one of them. I was trying to explain and reason with people, but it's the IWC, so it's kind of hard to do that a lot of times. But I got the same vibe in that after it was over, because I kept thinking they're probably going to have Deonna win. I was just trying to think about, I guess, based on what I heard other podcasters saying in the IWC and what I saw on X and things like that. So when Toni Storm won, I thought, you know what? This is the Christian Cage thing. Tony's elevated this title to a level that no Britt Baker, no Riho, nobody that's held that title before her has gotten the belt to the level that it's at now. And I honestly feel like that's why Toni Storm retains, is because, like you said, Deonna just got there. I think she needs to maybe have, like, that's cool they brought her in. She got her, her title match. She lost. Now she floats around and gets in the mix with some of these other women, and then let her get back into the title scene. But I thought, like you said, and that's why I'm so getting antsy with Swerve and his push, because like you said, you got to do it when the time is right and when the momentum's going. And I feel like, Swerve has had this momentum for a number of months now, and it's like they're teetering on if they're going to throw Wardlow in that, this and that. It's like, come on, man, you got to strike while the iron's hot. But Toni is just on a different level with that title. So until somebody can come, it's going to take Mercedes coming in and Jamie Hayter coming back for me to really feel like, okay, now she's got somebody that I can legit see getting the title from her. I just don't think Deonna Purrazzo's had enough time in the company to build her status up to that level yet. So
there's only one other woman besides the 2 that we just named that I can honestly see taking it off of Toni, but I don't know where she fits, and it's Chris Statlander. Because Chris Statlander's, she's fucking great.
Yeah, and they got her intertwined with this whole Stokely Hathaway Willow thing that they're doing, so I don't really know.
I'm glad that they got multiple storylines going on in the women's division, but,
Right.
And you can sense that they do have storylines going on in the women's division, and we're getting a lot of women's showcases. So I got no problem there.
There's just an overabundance. It's like you can't put everybody into the title scene at once.
Exactly.
It's a good problem that they have.
Yeah. I'll tell you what else was a good problem that they have. It's a good problem that we have so many great males singles wrestlers, and two of them will go by the names of Konosuke Takeshita and Will Ospreay.
Yeah, always a great problem to have a Will Ospreay on the roster, huh?
Dude, holy fuck. Dude, I don't even know what match on the show. I don't even know what match on the show I would consider my match of the year thus far. I'm torn right now between this match and the main event.
When they announced this match, the first thing I typed on Twitter was, this is automatic match of the year. And so far, everything I've seen in both companies up until this point for 2024, this is my match of the year.
Dude, and you know why? You know why this match is so great? And I was a little shocked, but at the same point in time, I wasn't, because they're slowly starting to drag this out. The reason why this match was a great thing to book was because this is now step one towards getting Will Ospreay away from the Don Callis family. Because let's be honest here, Will Ospreay doesn't need the Don Callis family.
No, and they planted seeds of that. They planted seeds of that on Wednesday, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And on top of that, it looks like Aussie Open is going to be reunited with Ospreay as well, and Ospreay's going to be leading his own family.
Now, is Kyle Fletcher still part of the Don Callis family, or did he get kicked out?
He is.
Oh, he is.
No, he is. He's Ring of Honor.
But he came out by himself, right? He came out on his own, though. He didn't come out with the Callis family.
Yeah, he came out on his own because he's been having visa issues. So that's why he was gone.
Yeah, but I'm saying yesterday he came out to greet Will by himself. He didn't come out with the Don Callis family, so I thought that was interesting.
Yes. And he's also Ring of Honor World Television Champion.
That's right.
And he's representing that title very well. It looks like we could get Ethan Page versus Kyle Fletcher at Supercard. So that could be a good moment for Ethan Page there.
Yeah.
But we also got Fletcher and Ospreay on Dynamite. So we're about to be witness to another match of the year candidate.
Yeah, man. You could have me sit here. I could talk about Will Ospreay for 5 hours if you let me, and I won't do that to any of you guys. But I mean, I don't really know what I'm gonna say after what you say after you go through the match that I haven't already said about Will Ospreay. He's my favorite wrestler right now. He has been for quite some time, and I'm so glad that we finally, after that viral video happened, 2017, of him and Ricochet in New Japan, something like that. I've been waiting to get just a good weekly dose of Will Ospreay on American television, and for whatever reason, he didn't want to be in America, and I think that Triple H was trying to recruit him, and he didn't want to go to WWE, and it's just like, oh, come on, man, we need Will Ospreay so bad here. So the fact that he's here and we get to see him regularly, man, I'm all elite, bro. When he said that popped me. I'm so happy.
I don't understand. You know what's crazy? I just thought about this. Well, why is it that Will Ospreay literally looks like the happiest guy in the world? Oh. What?
I thought Nick Wayne at parts yesterday looked like Will Ospreay.
No, I'm trying to figure out why Will Ospreay sounds like John Laurinaitis.
He does kind of have the raspy voice, doesn't he?
No, it's not like he has. It's not like he has a raspy voice. He just has a deep voice that sounds like he's using his nasal cavity.
The British accent, a lot. I know quite a few British people, and it's a nasally accent. A lot of them talk through their nose like that, especially if you're from Newcastle. I don't know where. Oh, I think Will is from Manchester.
Essex. He's from Essex.
Oh, Essex. That's right. I should know that. My ex-girlfriend is from Essex, so I forgot. But yeah, it's a nasally accent.
So, the less I say about this match, the better. I mean, dude, this was fucking fantastic. Absolutely fucking fantastic. There are not enough words in the English dictionary that I can go through that can describe this match. And Will Ospreay, he got a nasty fucking rope burn. He got
what was that movie even called? He
was going for the top buckle brain buster, but he mistimed it. And instead of his like shoulder and neck region hitting the buckle, it ended up he was like slightly off center, and it resulted in Will
his
Ospreay
lower kidney
slipping
snagged the
down
rope.
on the rope. And he even pointed to it like yeah, fucking rope burn. Listen, rather a rope burn than a broken back.
Yeah, well, first I thought he was he got dumped on his head, and I'm like, oh no, and then he stands upright, and immediately you see his lower back, and it was like, oh my god, bro, that spot looked like it sucked so bad.
Dude,
He even talks about it at the
burn.
scrum. He said it was an awful spot at the scrum.
God. So both of these guys back and forth, couple of fast moves here and there. Springboard forearm, neuralizer, big plancha by Ospreay, tope con hero by Takeshita, diving senton, but Ospreay got the knees up. German suplex, Ospreay kicked out. Another German by Takeshita, Spanish fly by Ospreay. Both men are down. Now, this is where shit started to get hard-hitting. Ospreay delivered a fucking discus elbow, and I swear to God, I thought...
He hit him in the temple, didn't he? He hit it. I swear, right the point of his elbow.
Right fucking here. I swear to God, I thought Takeshita was either legitimately knocked out or his fucking eyeballs went into the third row.
Yeah, man,
I thought I saw something go fucking flying.
The crack that hit made when he hit him with it, I was like, oh. And
and then we thought that was bad. So Takeshita gets up and he's like, all right, motherfucker. And he just uncorks a right forearm. And Ospreay, you could just physically see him. It's like his fucking soul left his body. And Ospreay just fucking collapses in a heap off that forearm.
A real underrated part of Will Ospreay's arsenal, in my opinion, because everybody talks about what they see from his offense, and he's got the smooth transitions. He can do a move and transition right to the top rope in the blink of an eye in like one movement, and you're like, how did he get up there? He's so fluid in the ring, but his selling is not talked about enough. Will Ospreay sells like a champ, dude. He really does.
And that wasn't even the craziest thing that happened. So Ospreay and Takeshita both countered power bombs. We had a thrust kick and a tiger bomb by Ospreay for a 2. This was one of my favorite spots in the match right here. We had an Oz cutter caught by Takeshita in midair into a beautiful Blue Thunder bomb. I don't know, man. I think Takeshita may have a better Blue Thunder bomb than Sammy.
And he was kind of like, you could tell when he was spinning him around, he started to go sideways, like he went off balance, and he still, I think it made the impact of it seem even more like, oh shit, like the velocity he gets when he's spinning you up and around before he plants you in that Blue Thunder bomb it's more impactful. It looks like a harder hit than even Sami Zayn's Blue Thunder bomb. I mean, he literally just goes all out for that move.
Dude, I would not want to take a Blue Thunder bomb from Takeshita.
It's a sick move.
So the crowd's chanting fight forever. We finally had an Oz cutter. Takeshita kicked out. Ospreay, we had a big punch by Takeshita. Ospreay barely rolled his shoulder up. We had a brain buster by Takeshita on the top buckle. He was off center, and Ospreay got a fucking rope burn, which looked absolutely fucking nasty. Thank God it was just a rope burn and not like a back issue. Ospreay barely kicked out. We then had a Stun Dog Millionaire, Poison Rana. Takeshita got back up, Cradle Tombstone, German suplex transition by Takeshita, Hidden Blade by Will Ospreay. It was just one after another. Cover. Takeshita fucking kicked out at 1. Everyone in the Greensboro Coliseum's going nuts. Crowd's going insane, chanting AEW. We had a clothesline that turned Ospreay inside out. Ospreay with a Styles Clash. Takeshita kicked out again. Tiger Driver 91 by Ospreay. Hidden Blade 1, 2, 3. And Will Ospreay gets the victory in what was an absolutely fucking fantastic, and I mean a fucking fantastic match. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know what the fuck? And I really don't know what the fuck these guys were even thinking, but holy shit, these guys are absolutely fucking insane. And Will Ospreay, man, Will Ospreay absolutely should be one of their top tier baby faces. With MJF out, Swerve and Ospreay are the top two baby faces that they need to invest in going forward. If there's one thing that this also proved, it's the fact that Takeshita needs to continue to be a priority. This is the third singles match that Takeshita has had this year. He had one against Darby, he had one against Jericho, he had one against Ospreay, and every single one of them have been absolute bangers, with this one being the best. Easily matched the year for me.
A cool moment yesterday for me. Shout out to some of my boys in the chat. Midmost Mark, Jeremy, Otis Ant, Funny Rob Bebe. We were all watching together yesterday, and one of our buddies, he's a young kid. He's collectively, he's watched wrestling the least amount of time than us old heads, but I like getting his perspective on things because he's from a newer generation, so he sees wrestling completely different than me. And we were all talking and marking out about the Will Ospreay Ricochet match that went viral a number of years ago, and we're talking about we were talking yesterday a lot about Lucha Underground and telling him to go back and watch some of the old Lucha Underground matches. And we start talking about Will Ospreay, and he doesn't really know much about Will Ospreay at this point. And yesterday was the first Will Ospreay match, full match of his that he got to see. And when it was over, he was like, "Oh, I'm all in on Will Ospreay." Like, he was an instant fan. And I feel like if you're a fan of wrestling, all you've got to do is just watch Will Ospreay one time. And he's the whole package in terms of how hard and stiff he hits and believable he looks when he's hitting and chopping and punching, how smooth he is when he transitions one move into another seamlessly. He's got the aerial offense. His selling is incredible. I mean, he's something else. There's not enough words in our language to accurately describe the level that Will Ospreay is on. I've not really seen anything like him, to be honest. And yeah, he's fans are in for a real treat with him as long as he can stay healthy. He wrestles a style that's not conducive to keeping your body off of the injury shelf on a regular basis. But maybe now that he's here in AEW permanently, maybe obviously he won't be working as many international indie shows as we're accustomed to him doing. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But that was match of the night for me, hands down.
I'm telling you, I really do not know how they're going to top this going forward. They'll probably do something, but
right.
We'll see what happens.
The first thing out of my mouth after that match was Tony Khan. I literally said this to the boys, if they'll attest to this. As soon as that match was over, I told Jeremy, I said, "Well, if you're Tony Khan, here's your two guys going forward. If there was any doubt, like these two go right, you put them right up here at the very top and go with these two guys for sure. They got to be leading the charge."
So after that, then we get into the two main event matches. The second to last match, which they made the right decision with, was the triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, and Samoa Joe for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. This was a very good match. It was a very good match, but I don't want to say it was put in a tough spot, but I mean, following Will Ospreay and Takeshita, it didn't really live up to what it really should have been, considering the talent in the ring. But regardless of that, not trying to bash them, it was still a very good match for what it was, and it did what it needed to do. It made sense. Everyone pretty much had a case of why they should be there and why they should win. The one thing that was shocking to me, and this was probably the most shocking thing of the night to me, I am shocked that Samoa Joe made it out of this match with the championship. I had it in my mind that Samoa Joe was losing it to one of these guys. Whether it was Swerve or Hangman, I had it in my mind that Samoa Joe was going to be a transitional champion. Now, he could still end up being a transitional champion, and he could ultimately drop it to Wardlow. But dude, I was shocked that Samoa Joe retained. Then I read up on what's going on with Hangman because it came out almost immediately after the show was over. So to me, I mean, I guess I get it. I guess, like, okay, fine. Hangman's got personal issues going on, so he's taking some time away. But at the same point in time, man, you take a look at the layout and the landscape of AEW right now, I'm thinking like 6-7 months ahead. I'm thinking like long-term. I'm thinking like long-term story. I'm talking about long-term matches that we've seen and a story that has pretty much been the highlight of AEW TV since September. And we're going to talk about that after we go through this match. So Joe started out hot. Joe was like, listen, I'm whooping both of these guys' asses. I don't give a fuck. Joe immediately went after both men. Swerve and Hangman mixed it up a bit. Joe with a back elbow and back elbow to Page and a back elbow to Swerve. We had a drop kick on Page, power bomb by Joe. Page kicked out. Joe with a crossface. We had a power bomb by Page and Swerve on Samoa Joe. Page then punched Swerve. Swerve laughed as Page was punching him. Joe broke up the pin. We then had Page with a moonsault into a tombstone, which looked very nice. Joe saved it. Powerbomb by Swerve. Roll through into a sheer drop brainbuster. Joe then saved it again. So Joe was playing saver over here. He was saving the match. Fall after fall after fall. Joe was there. Joe was there. Joe was there. So Swerve was up on the top rope. Joe hit a muscle buster on Hangman. Hangman was taken out. Swerve with the Swerve stomp. House call on Joe. Swerve with a house call on Hangman. And Hangman was able to kick out. We then had Swerve with a DDT. DDT out of the corner. DDT out of the corner on Samoa Joe by Swerve. Swerve then went up for the Swerve stomp again. Joe kicked out. And Page then pulled the first referee out. I think it was, who was it? I think it was Paul Turner. I think it may have been Paul Turner. Yeah, Paul Turner was the first referee. He pulled him out and then just started beating the hell out of Paul Turner. Crowd was booing. It was music to my ears, and I was loving it. I was loving it. It was just playing out so perfectly. So then, Swerve is pissed off. Page then got the title, hit Swerve in the head, hit him again. Page with a buckshot lariat on Joe. No referee in sight. Another buckshot lariat. A second one. And there was no referee. All of a sudden, Bryce Remsburg comes sliding in. 1, 2. Joe kicked out. I actually thought Page won it right there. So Page, he was pissed off. He's going at it with Bryce Remsburg. Joe then reversed the third buckshot lariat into a coquina clutch. It was locked in. Swerve with a spiral tap, which looked awesome. Spiral tap. I don't think I've seen a spiral tap in about at least 4 years. The last time I remember seeing a spiral tap was at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2 when Tyler Bate faced JD McDonough when he was Jordan Devlin, and Tyler Bate hit a spiral tap in order to get the victory on Jordan Devlin. So I haven't seen a spiral tap in a while. So after that, after the spiral tap, both men were down.
How do you remember all this shit?
Because I have it written down.
No, but I mean about like Tyler Bate and JD McDonough when he was Jordan Devlin in some match however long ago. Like, I don't know how you remember these things.
Dude, that was at the beginning of 2020. Dude, I remember everything.
You remember the beginning of 2020?
Yes, when we were operating under normal terms.
Good
Dude,
Lord, man.
I remember everything. I have the memory that some people wish they could have.
Yeah, I used to. Time, age happens.
I will not be losing it. Trust me. So after the spiral tap, Swerve took Nana's crown and he said no. He said no. Swerve threw the crown back at Nana. So Joe ended up taking advantage. And we had Paige seeing the ref. Swerve was locked in a coquina clutch, and Paige took the ref out again. So he took out Paul Turner and he took out Bryce Remsburg because the man is obsessed to make sure that Swerve does not become the world champion. So,
he didn't even try to hide it. Hemsburg, he just waffled it. He just straight socked him and just tossed him out,
exactly.
out the ring.
And I was loving it. I was loving it because this is
Shivani screaming for suspensions to come and all kinds of stuff on commentary. It was wild.
This is exactly what he needed to do, and this is what I was waiting for. Like now, there's no questions about it. Now, Hangman, he's the villain. Hangman is not the hero anymore.
Right.
So then after that, Paige took out the ref again. We had a lariat by Paige, a lariat by Joe. Joe then was caught with a buckshot lariat by Paige. Swerve with a buckshot lariat out of the corner. Swerve was hyping up. The crowd felt like Swerve was going to do it. All of a sudden, we had a JML driver by Swerve. Paul Turner was coming too. Joe, out of nowhere, with a half-and-half suplex. Swerve is out. Swerve was then trying to stop Joe from locking in the coquina clutch, but he locked it in anyway. And Hangman Adam Page taps out to prevent Swerve Strickland from becoming the world champion. And Samoa Joe, shockingly, retains the AEW World Championship. Now, the match was very good. And I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. I am a Samoa Joe guy. I've been a Samoa Joe guy for a long, long time. I've been a Samoa Joe guy since he was in TNA. And I am happy that he is getting a longer reign. And I am happy that he was able to get at least one title defense on pay-per-view. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I can't really sit here and say that this was the best outcome. I don't know, man. I can't really say that this was the best outcome. Listen, I understand this may piss you off, but this is about long-term booking and long-term storytelling. Swerve and Hangman is the best storyline that AEW has ever told since Hangman challenging the Elite and fighting Omega for the world title. It was that, and then this. Swerve and Hangman have been fighting since September, and it was a feud that pretty much started. It started all because of Swerve wanting Hangman's spot, and it snowballed into a blood feud. It snowballed into a blood feud that took a turn in 2024, where Swerve and his popularity just rose above everything else to a point where it drove Hangman insane. And Hangman is now the villain because of his obsession with not being able to beat Swerve Strickland and the fact that he cannot allow Swerve to become world champion because of what he did to his infant kid. How he just left a t-shirt with his infant kid and said, "You're indebted to me forever." But Swerve and his popularity, it's just so big right now. Swerve's star power is just so big that it surpassed Hangman. Hangman is not the hero. And I've stated this numerous amounts of times. The next chapter of this story is now being written with the roles reversed, with Hangman as the villain and Swerve as the hero, because everyone wants to see Swerve make history. Everyone wants to see Swerve become the first black AEW world champion. So much so that the fact that Hangman's trying to prevent that, it has caused him to lose his mind, lose his support with the audience, and completely lose himself. Mm-hmm. That is why Hangman winning would have been the best option, because with Hangman winning by pinning Joe, it would have still kept Swerve, quote unquote, undefeated against Hangman, number one. And number two, dude, I don't know what they're going to do for All In, but in my eyes, there is no bigger match. There is no better story. There is no better two men that you could do for All In the main event for the world title than Swerve and Hangman. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Hangman Page as the world champion, as a heel, with the crowd booing him because they wanted Swerve. They wanted Swerve, and Hangman prevented that. Hangman is keeping Swerve away from the world title. Swerve rebuilds himself, fights Hangman in front of 60,000, 70,000 people at All In, and then wins the world title from Hangman and closes out a one-year story with Hangman Page. And now Swerve has finally taken Hangman's spot. And then after All In, Hangman goes insane. And we talked about this. I said that my dad told me that Hangman has the makings of a Randy Orton-esque heel. I'm talking about 2009 Randy Orton-esque heel, where he doesn't give a fuck and he will do sadistic shit. That was the story. The story was Hangman losing his mind and becoming a sociopath and just beating the shit out of everyone because of his obsession with Swerve, and then Swerve's rise to superstardom. That would have been the best story going into All In. But now we got the report that Hangman, he's going to be taking time off for a personal issue. So it looks like what Meltzer said a couple weeks back, it looks like what Meltzer said was, he was right. It looks like what Meltzer said was correct. Now, I don't know what's going on. The only thing I can hope for is Hangman's okay. But I don't know, man. It almost seems like Hangman being out, for one reason or another, it's not his fault. It's a personal issue. It's not his fault. But I don't know, man. It almost feels to me like Swerve needs Hangman in order to close out this story. You could have him beat Joe, but would it mean as much? And Joe, he's the world champion. What's going to happen with Joe? Is he going to lose to Wardlow? Is he not going to lose to Wardlow? I don't know, man. It's just a lot of unanswered questions. That's why I said that Hangman winning the title would have been best, because of the story that they could tell, and Swerve getting his big moment over the man that he wanted his spot from him to begin with. I mean, you couldn't have written a better story. That's just me.
I disagree in terms of, I get where you're coming from, and I know you're thinking about this all months down the line. So, and that, knowing that, I understand the route and the mentality that you have for this feud. For me, I was looking at this in terms of what's been going on so far and where we're at now. And the fact that Paige can't get one over on Swerve, I feel like if this feud was a WWE feud and Adam Page keeps getting these title matches and keeps losing, if this is WWE, I feel like you're shitting all over this.
No, because he hasn't gotten a title match in how long? A year plus. He hasn't gotten a world title match in a year plus. And on top of that, there's a difference between...
I'm sorry, I said title match. I meant just booked in a high spot on the card, just to lose, to draw. He lost yesterday. He taps out. I get why he taps out, but at the end of the day, it's still an L on his record, okay? So if you've lost
there's a
3 out of your last 4, with your 4th being a draw.
No, he didn't lose. No, dude, you have to pay attention to the show, because Hangman was not going into that match with Swerve like a month ago. He wasn't going in on a losing streak. Hangman, yes, he
didn't lose to Swerve twice in a row and then get a draw on their third match.
No. He lost to Swerve twice, yes, but He was on a winning streak afterwards. He needed to rebuild himself back up. He beat Roderick Strong. He beat JD Drake. He
Yeah,
beat
that's
Claudio
fine.
Castagnoli. Hang on. He beat JD Drake, Roderick Strong, Claudio Castagnoli, Penta, El Cero Miedo, and Toa Leona. He was on a 5-match winning streak in 2024, similar with Swerve. Swerve won 5 matches in a row. Hangman did not just lose and then get put in a world title match immediately. You see, if Hangman lost to Swerve, didn't wrestle at all, and then he got placed in a world title match, that would not have made sense, and I would have shit on that. But Hangman rebuilt himself. He was on a win streak. And on top of that, this is another factor. Hangman was relevant to the story because Swerve and Hangman are now tethered together. They're tethered together to a point where this is a fight forever type of feud. And both of them equally make the other one better. That's the reason why this is different, because Hangman wasn't on a losing streak going into that draw. He was on a 5-match win streak.
Everybody knows my opinion on Adam Page, right? So that being said, when they had their first 2 matches, him and Swerve, I was one of the ones that said, oh, this has a fight forever feel to it. Like, these guys seem to be made for each other, right?
Yes.
Now, given my opinion on Adam Page, for me to say that about him, I'm not just anti-Adam Page and I'm like, there's nothing good about him. There are things that I can acknowledge about Adam Page in a positive light. This feud with him and Swerve is probably my favorite feud he's had in AEW this far. I'm speaking about Adam Page. For
Over
me,
Moxley.
regardless of his win streak to get him qualified to be in this match yesterday, what have you, I feel when I'm talking just about their feud that they've had, him and Swerve, he can't get one over on Swerve. So I was a little irritated that he got another chance yesterday, because I don't want Joe to be a transitional champion. I want him to get, he doesn't need to have the belt for like a year, let's say, but I want him to have a nice, decent run with the title, given where he comes from and how badly botched he was in that company. I'm a total Samoa Joe guy, and I'm like, okay, he can't be a transitional champion, so how do we do this? Based on what's happened with Page, I knew right away yesterday when he started attacking referees that he was obviously due for a hiatus. So I'm like, okay, Adam Page must be going away for some bit of time. That allows Joe to continue on with the title. However, how long with the title, I'm not sure. I honestly think when they announced Dynasty yesterday, I'm like, oh, that's probably where Joe's going to lose the title. But I wouldn't necessarily have him. For me, no way, no how can Page win the title before Swerve.
He already has. But again, the point is
in this feud, I mean. Like, I wouldn't give the title off of Joe to Page and have Swerve keep chasing like you were stating. I wouldn't do that at all. I feel like that's going to completely kill Swerve's momentum.
You would not want to get a bigger and better moment for Swerve. Because here's the thing. Him winning in front of 16,000 people, that's fine. But him winning in front of 60,000, 70,000 people, and if you crown the first black AEW World Champion at, realistically, what is your WrestleMania? I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer.
Well, I understand that, but also you were talking earlier about how you got to do things when the time is right, and Swerve has been riding this wave of momentum since at least Wrestle Dream of last year.
Yeah.
How many months now until we get All In? A number.
I would say it's about 6
4 months, right?
You can keep them hot until then. 6 months is not that long of a time. I mean, look at us. We're already in 2024.
In terms of having the fan base behind him, if you wait that long, you're risking him losing his momentum, in my opinion.
Dude,
so,
who
with Adam Page going away,
who besides Ospreay is as hot as Swerve right now? Who besides Ospreay?
Nobody, but people are also anticipating that Swerve anytime now is going to be winning that belt. And if you drag this out with Adam Page, who's can't get one over on him, it's going to annoy the fan base. And I feel like it's going to turn a lot of people against the whole storyline in general. That's my feeling.
I don't think it's gonna.
That's my
I don't think
feeling.
It's gonna annoy the fan base. It's going to make the fan base boo Hangman even more and want Swerve to win even more.
So now that Hangman goes away, it's actually a good thing in my mind because now there's a better possibility of me getting the feud that I want, which is the one-on-one with Swerve and Joe, and then you could have him drag that out, and then he could possibly beat Joe at Wembley. You could do that too, and give him his big moment in front of the big crowd. But I wasn't shocked that Joe won. I was expecting either Joe or Swerve to win yesterday. I didn't see realistically how Page, forget that he's got an issue. Let's say he didn't have an issue. Still, realistically, I didn't see how him winning the title was going to work.
It would have worked because he would have pinned Joe. He would have pinned Joe. It would have kept Swerve looking strong.
And then everybody's saying what a meaningless feud and run Joe had with the title.
I know, but at the same point in time, I mean, if you're going to be a transitional champion, you may as well drop the title to the most important storyline in AEW right now, because there's no storyline that's as good as this storyline with Swerve and Hangman. The only thing that was above Swerve and Hangman is Sting's retirement, and now that's over.
But again, if this is the WWE title and Joe loses it after 63 days, you're talking about how that devalues the title belt.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because of multiple reasons. Number one, WWE has transitional champions legitimately every other fucking month. AEW, for the most part, gives each of their champions a lengthy title reign. You take a look at the TBS title. Statlander got almost 200 days with the TBS title. Julia Hart's over 100 right now. You take a look at MJF, 400 plus days with the World Championship. You take a look at Kenny Omega, 300 days. Hangman Page, almost 200 days.
Right, and look what you said about Julia Hart earlier. She's had that title, and now the division is such where we're saying we got to get it off her because she's not the right person.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because of her in-ring ability. That's not her fault. It's because of the fact.
No, and I know it's not her fault, but that's what we're saying about Julia Hart. So how then realistically can we say that about Julia Hart, but then have Samoa Joe have the title for 60 days and give it up to a guy that keeps losing? It doesn't make any sense.
Because Hangman was not losing up until this match. Hangman hadn't lost the match. Up until that match, Hangman hadn't lost the match since November.
I meant against Swerve. DJ, you gotta understand. I'm talking about Hangman versus Swerve, not what's going on the weekly show.
Because when WWE does that shit, when they do all these transitional champions, well, before Triple H came about, when they were doing all these transitional champions, the WWE did not build up any storylines that surpassed the relevancy of certain championship title reigns. Because you take a look at Hangman and Swerve. There's not many title reigns right now outside of the TNT title reign that Christian Cage has, and maybe the women's title reign with Toni Storm. But then again, that can be argued. 1-2 title reigns? There's not many title reigns in AEW that surpass the level of importance and surpass the level of investment and intrigue that Hangman and Swerve has right now. The reason why I would say that Joe was going to drop the championship was because, A, Joe's title reign as of right now, even though Joe is great, Joe, as of right now, it doesn't feel like whatever is going on with Joe is as important as what is going on with Swerve and Hangman. And on top of that, here's the second thing. Was Joe really ever meant to be the world champion? No, the only reason why they gave Joe the championship is because, A, Adam Cole got hurt. I had Adam Cole as the guy to take the title off of MJF. And number two, MJF got hurt and they needed to get the title off of him because he couldn't keep on wrestling with a torn labrum after World's End. It can't. So was Joe really ever meant to be a world champion? I don't see it that way. So if Joe was never really meant to be a world champion with AEW because MJF wasn't supposed to get injured and Adam Cole wasn't supposed to get injured, but they did. And Hangman and Swerve right now is the best thing on AEW TV outside of Sting's retirement buildup. Why not put the world title in that and make Swerve's title win that much more meaningful and that much more impactful? I'm thinking about it in terms of impact. You take a look at Cody and Roman, and we already discussed this with Cody and Roman off the stream. Cody and Roman, the title change should have happened last year. The title change should have happened last year. If they did the title change last year, the stars were aligned perfectly. It would have had the perfect impact. It would have had the perfect layout. Everything would have been perfect. Roman's title reign had already reached a fever pitch. Roman's title reign had already reached its peak. It was time. Swerve, on the other hand, Swerve, you can take your time a little bit with Swerve. You don't just want to have Swerve go into 2024 and then immediately become the first black AEW world champion. As of right now, Swerve Strickland is hot to a point where you can drag it out just a little bit. If they dragged this shit out with Swerve going into next year, then yeah, I would say, okay, they waited too long. They waited too long, and they should have struck when the iron was hot. But if they gave it to Hangman to have a 6-month reign, give him a nice, decent little reign, and on top of that, there's more guys for Hangman to face rather than Joe, because Hangman, you could have gotten Hangman and Wardlow if they wanted to rebuild that storyline with the Undisputed Kingdom, and Hangman and Wardlow makes sense because the Undisputed Kingdom took out Hangman, so that makes sense. Orange Cassidy just lost the International Championship. Heel Hangman, babyface Orange Cassidy, World Championship. You could have done something there. You could have done something else with plenty of other people in there. You could have built up some new guys to fight Hangman, ultimately resulting in Swerve still taking the title off them. That's the main difference between if they would have done it in WWE versus if they would have done it in AEW, because WWE has not built up an important storyline like this that has really surpassed the relevancy of a title reign like this storyline with Swerve and Hangman has with Joe's title reign. There's just a lot to take in. There's a lot to take in, and there's a lot to get rolled up here.
I think what they're going to do is the way I said earlier. I think they're going to give Wardlow his title shot sooner rather than later. I think it's going to look like Wardlow's about to go over and win, and in a panic move by Adam Cole, so he's going to orchestrate something to take Wardlow out of that, which is going to set up a feud for the spring and summer with Wardlow and the Undisputed Kingdom for Wardlow to get his actual full title shot at a later time, which then buys time for whatever's going on with Joe, Swerve, and Hangman for the next number of months. I think that's the way they're going to go. That makes the most sense.
The thing. I don't know what main event's all in then. What main event's all in? There's no better story than Swerve and Hangman. So if they're going to have a main event for All In, Swerve's going to have to be the champion, and Hangman's going to have to be the challenger. And if anything,
or you take into account that I know life happens, and sometimes it's not necessarily our fault. So whatever this issue is that Adam Page has to deal with, depending on how long it might only keep him out a week or two, but it might keep him out longer. If he's gone for, let's say, a couple of months, I don't see realistically how you put him in the main event at Wembley.
Exactly. So that's a problem unto itself. The only other match that I can honestly see main eventing Wembley, if they want to, is Swerve as the champion, and he is defending against MJF, because they did tease that before MJF lost the title to Joe. They teased that before MJF went out with injury. But at the same point in time, is he going to be ready?
Well, here's the thing, too. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how much of a rocket Tony's going to strap to Will Ospreay. He could have him exit this Don Callis thing and position Will Ospreay to be in contention for the title right away as well, so that
that would be a horrible idea. You know why? Because if Will Ospreay fights for the title at Wembley, then he has to win. Well, you're going to give Swerve a 4-month, 5-month reign? You can't do that. Swerve needs to at least be champion for at least 200 days. Swerve needs to be champion for at least 200 days.
Yeah, and I think Will Ospreay's got to. I think you've got to do him in Pac at Wembley, to be honest.
That's the thing. Like, what do you do for the main event at Wembley? There's no better match, at least in my eyes. There's no better match than Swerve and Hangman.
I would
It's the
just
most important story.
if Hangman can't do it, you just I guess you just let Joe run with the title till Wembley and then have him lose it there to Swerve.
I don't know. I don't know. Like that was the whole problem here. Again, it's not Hangman's fault that he's got a personal issue going on, but Hangman winning would have been the best possible outcome because right now we got more questions than we do answers. Like, what's going to happen? We don't know. Here's the thing. Sometimes unpredictability isn't always a good thing, and then predictability isn't always a bad thing. AEW Dynasty is official for Sunday, April 21st. I'm looking forward to that. AEW, and on top of that, you know why else this is a great thing? This could very well result in that HBO Max streaming deal. This could result in that HBO Max streaming deal that's going to open up AEW to new eyes. It's going to gain them a new fan base, and it's going to help them overall because I heard from Andrew Zarian that AEW could be a cable/streaming service hybrid where we could see Dynamite stream on both cable and on the streaming service. And if that's the case, we got multiple avenues of exposure for the product. So
then no wrestling fan has an excuse to that they can't get their eyes on the product.
Exactly.
That's actually a good thing to have it on TV and streaming. That's actually pretty smart.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to that. Main event.
Isn't that around the time of somebody's birthday, April 21st?
Well, my birthday is on a Tuesday. My birthday's on a Tuesday. That is going to be on April 2nd. That is the most important date.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We have literally the same birthday. Your birthday's a day before mine. That's right.
Yep. I'm going to be a very nice rounded 25.
Add 20 to that, and that's what I'm going to be. I don't know how rounded, but rounded in the midsection, but that's about it.
In the midsection. A quarter of a century. quarter of a century, I'm going to fucking 100.
Nice. I hope to God I don't live that long.
Main event, baby. 3 hours plus. Holy shit. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, I'm probably going to get scolded by someone in my family for going 3 fucking hours.
Well, we're almost done. This is the final match, right?
Yes.
All right.
Main event. Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks Tornado tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. I was half right. When I predicted that the tag team titles would have main evented an AEW pay-per-view and the Young Bucks would have been involved. I thought it was going to be the Bucks and FTR. But we did get it for the first time ever. The AEW tag team titles main event to show. Take a look at the shows in the last 6 months. All Out was main evented by the International Championship. Wrestle Dream was main evented by the TNT Championship. And then we got the world title main eventing Full Gear, World's End, and now we got Revolution main evented by the World Tag Team titles.
What show did the women main event?
None so far.
None so far. I thought they did. I thought they main evented.
If we're going to get a women's main event, I would not mind if we get Toni Storm and Mercedes main eventing Dynasty.
And she alluded on Twitter or X last week to Bayley. She said something to Bayley on Twitter along the lines of, "Wait till you see what I got planned," and that had everybody talking. And I'm wondering if they're maybe going to go with an all women's show.
I'm looking forward to it. So Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat were out there. It was nice to see them there. We had the Young Bucks coming out. They rose up from the stage like Cody.
I noticed that.
Classic Cody with the fucking, oh my God, I can't decipher what it was. It was like these custom-made robes.
I said it looked like they stole the robes from the Bellagio Hotel.
I know. And you know what?
They were literal bathrobes, like Versace bathrobes.
It was brilliant. And it was brilliant. The fans were just raining down booze on them. This presentation of the Young Bucks is fantastic. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. This presentation of the Young Bucks is the best presentation that we've had. And I will be calling them by their God-given names of Nicholas and Matthew. Now, and remember, I don't want to get a $1,000 fine. So Young Bucks came out with these fancy robes. Then we had a very nice promo package for Sting. And we had him going into an old school theater. So Sarah said Hugh Hefner robes. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Hugh Hefner.
He wore a crushed velvet maroon robe all the time. I liked these black and gold ones that the Young Bucks had on. But they did. They looked like high-end, like expensive hotel bathrobes that they jacked. It was hilarious, I thought.
And that facial hair, dude, like they got.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because I was like, I don't recognize one of them. And I thought Nick was Matt. And I got totally confused.
Nicholas.
Yeah, Nicholas. Because I'm not used to seeing him with the paint on or the dyed dark facial hair. And it threw me off. I was like, who is that guy? It doesn't look like a young buck. And it was.
So Sting went into an old school theater and it was dubbed the final showtime. And he was sitting in the theater and he was going through all of his moments in WCW and New Japan and NWA, a couple of TNA shots as well, and then in AEW. And then he's just sitting there reflecting and he goes, it's showtime. Showtime for the last time. And he's very, very, very somber. And then he looks directly into the camera with a motivated face and he goes, let's do this. So the lights go out. One of Sting's sons comes out dressed as Surfer Sting, USA Surfer Sting. And I actually thought that was the actual Sting for a moment there. And then we had his other son coming out as Wolfpack Sting. Wolfpack Sting, and my God, it was actually scary how much his sons look like him. Like when they're in full.
That's how I knew they were his sons, because at first I'm like, who is that? And then I looked at their facial structure. I was like, this has to be his two sons. It has to be. They look just like him.
Dude, how is it that his sons, they don't look anything like him, like when they're not dressed up like that. But when they're dressed up like that.
It looked like three Stings from far away, didn't it?
Dude.
It really did. Like he split himself 3 ways. I'm like, is this like holographic or what's going on?
I was shocked.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment too. I'm sure for his sons to get to be up there with him and for his final match, it was pretty special.
So he came out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica. And I'm not sure what's the significance of that. Was that his TNA theme? What is the significance of that? I don't listen, it's a great song.
I'm not really sure. It has to have been something to do with TNA. I don't remember him coming out to Seek and Destroy in WCW. And when his sons first came out, the Sting theme that they played, that was the one that I remembered from WCW. And then it transitioned into Seek and Destroy. All I know is Tony Khan had to have shelled out buku bucks to get a Metallica song.
This was the second time that he did that.
That didn't come cheap.
No.
He probably paid 7 figures for that.
Oh my God, tell me about it. So right out of the gate, Darby went for the Bucks immediately. Sting's sons were actually involved, and they were actually doing some stinger splashes to the Bucks. Now that absolutely was a special moment for him and his sons.
Right.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So the crowd started chanting, "Thank you, Sting." Sting got a chair, started bashing the Bucks. We got tables, we got ladders, and then all of a sudden we had Nicholas. He was flipped onto the floor along with Matthew, and then we had a coffin drop on the Bucks by Darby. We had 3 panes of glass being introduced. So I thought to myself, all right, someone's got to go through this, and someone is not going to make it out of this unscathed. And I think
we all had a good idea who was going through that glass too. Holy smokes. I shivered when I saw Sting pulling out the window panes. I'm like, oh no.
So after that, After that, we got ourselves a coffin drop, panes of glass being introduced. We had steel chairs being placed at ringside, like musical chairs. They put the pane of glass on the chairs. All of a sudden, the fight spilled into the crowd. Nicholas, with a falcon arrow off of the stage, threw 2 tables on Darby, which looked flawless. And then Matthew, with a suplex to Sting, off of the stage on the other side, threw 2 tables. Crowd was chanting, "Fuck the Young Bucks," which I laughed at. And that's how I know, all right, this heel shit is working. This is working, and these two were the perfect opponents for Sting. So the Young Bucks then double powerbomb Darby onto a ladder. Darby then with a stunner on Nicholas, code red on Matthew. All of a sudden, Darby then bashed Nicholas's head onto the steps. Darby then put Nicholas on the pane of glass. He climbed up the ladder. He was at least 30 feet up in the air like a fucking
Talk
maniac.
about that ladder, though, to give some context. Like, that was a gigantic-ass ladder if I've ever seen one.
Dude, he was already like 20 feet in the air because of the ladder.
Right, and then the space between the ring and then the floor is another 3 feet, so add 3 feet of height to that, and it was like, when they laid the pane of glass on those 6 chairs, and then you see the ladder went up out of the view of the camera. It was so tall. I'm like, there's no way someone's doing that. Like I was in great anticipation for what we were about to see, but no way did I think that actually someone was legit going to take that bump.
Dude, it's Darby. It's Darby. He will take that bump. He will absolutely take that bump.
Yes, actually, he will, won't he?
Darby dove off of the ladder, swanton bomb through the pane of
shadow
glass,
realm.
through the shadow realm, through the pane of glass, shattered everywhere. Absolutely shattered everywhere. Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And dude, it just sucked the wind.
We've seen a lot of hardcore spots in wrestling over the years with tables and chairs involved and high heights and splatting onto the ground. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a human body hit a floor as hard as his body hit. I mean, it looked like he went past the first couple chairs and he landed more towards the outer ones. So it didn't look like the chairs caught his fall all the way. And I mean, he just went through glass and chairs like they weren't even there. It was like it was as if he jumped off the ladder onto nothing and just landed flat on the ground with nothing to catch his fall. I mean, it just splat. It was like, and then all of a sudden, 3 seconds later, I'm like, well, there's got to be blood for sure. And as soon as I thought that, I mean, it wasn't just a little trail that you see like when a guy goes hard way or whatever. I mean, it looked like somebody had poked him with about 1,000 nails, and all of a sudden you just see red dots, and then the streams just come leaking out of his back and his arms everywhere. I'm talking everywhere.
Dude, how is that man alive? How is he alive?
And then when he shows his back, his shoulder was all tore open. Like it looked like just a big chunk of skin was missing.
Oh.
It was like somebody had peeled away his skin.
Did you see what he said after the show? Like after the show, and he was doing a little promo with Sting after they went off the air. He goes, "All right, I think I'm going to give the last word to Sting. I'm going to go to the hospital in a bit."
Yeah.
And then just walked out.
Well, and at the scrum, he's even sitting there, and you can tell because he's hunched over, and he's making facial expressions like you. I said this to my guys yesterday. My buddy last year wrecked his motorcycle, and in that wreck, it took 5 days of him going to the ER and having multiple sessions of them picking glass and gravel shards out of different areas of his body. So when Darby hit and I saw all that blood start to come out of his back and his arms and his skin was all ripped off, I'm pretty sure he's going to go through the same thing. Like they're not going to be able to find all the glass in one night. Like he's going to have to get multiple sessions of having chunks of glass removed out of his back. I guarantee it, which is crazy to even say. Like
that was probably one of the craziest spots that I've ever seen in pro wrestling.
Facts. And the fact that like I didn't even realize that Nick Nicholas had moved out of the way. I didn't even see him in, like, on the chairs. So when Darby was climbing the ladder, I'm thinking in my head, but there's nobody there. Well, the camera was too quick and I was distracted or something. So I don't see Nicholas move out of the way. I thought Darby just literally climbed the ladder and just dove onto nothing on purpose. And so my first reaction was like, why did he do that? There was nobody there. But then the replay shows it happened very quickly. And I blinked and I missed it. But still, the fact that he stayed out there, I figured immediately they would take him to the back and make him, do a stretcher spot or whatever so that we knew, okay, Darby's RIP. Like, and to his credit, I don't know how he stayed out there with all the glass in his back. I don't know how he hung out with Sting at the scrum for so long. You could tell he was in obvious pain. He couldn't even sit up straight. Like, he was very, like, even answering reporters' questions, his facial expressions are all over the place. You could tell he was in a lot of discomfort. He's got a pain threshold unlike probably anything I've ever seen in wrestling, to be honest, because not only it's not somebody just doing that to him. He's literally putting himself through those spots and the mental shit you got to go through and in that moment, and you can't hesitate because it's got to all flow. So you don't have time to just sit on the ladder and like, okay, I'm about to do this. You don't have no time to self-talk and like, do I really want to do this? Like, you got to just do it without thinking. That's hard to do, especially when you're the one having to make the leap, knowing that you're about to go through 6 steel chairs and a window pane.
Dude, like that.
Hopefully he got a bonus on his paycheck for that.
Oh my God, he better have. So after that, the doctor's attendant, he wasn't seen until the end of the match after that.
Doesn't he got to go climb at Mount Everest in 3 weeks?
Yeah, March 27th.
I don't know how he's going to be fully healed from that.
There's not a chance. Not a chance he will. Not a chance. So all of a sudden, we had well, what do we have? I lost my place over here. Okay, here we go. So Sting was able to fight back. Sting then put Matthew through a table. He put Matthew on a table, excuse me. He then climbed the ladder. Matthew chopped him down and powerbombed him through the table. Sting stood right back up. Crowd was going nuts because Sting, he's doing Sting things. Sting was then sent through another pane of glass. I'm glad that Sting had all those clothes on. All of a sudden, we had a scorpion death drop by Matthew. 1-2, Sting kicked out. Ricky Steamboat then took out Nicholas with a double punch, but then he was ultimately hit with a chair by Matthew. All of a sudden, Ric Flair came in, and he's like, no more. He's trying to make sure that the Young Bucks don't cause any more damage to Sting. The Young Bucks, all right, they go, all right, fine. Then they go, fuck this. Double super kick to Flair. Flair goes down.
Oh, Flair probably thought he had like 5 shots of vodka after the double super kick. They kicked him into oblivion.
Oh my God,
he probably thought he blacked out.
So double super kick to Flair into oblivion. Double super kick to Steamboat. They took the tag team title belt to the face. 1-2, Sting kicked out again. Super kicks again to Sting. And this is what I loved about this. The Bucks go, we're not sorry. We hate you. Delivering the double super kicks. Sting, he was falling back.
How'd he do that, by the way? Because I thought he was far enough back that would put quite a strain on your lower back to stop your. I don't know how he ended up doing that rise back up because I thought he was going down. That was incredible.
He was like teetering, and then he rose back up. He did the chest beat. The same spot from Forbidden Door 2022, which was great. Same spot. Sting, double clothesline to the Bucks. Sting then with a scorpion death drop. Nicholas saved it. EVP trigger. Sting kicked out. A second one. This is where I thought it was the end. And if anything, I probably would have made this the end. EVP trigger. Sting kicked out at 1. Sting was then laughing like Joker Sting would. Sting wanted more. Super kicks again. They went for the Tony Khan driver before Nicholas was then sent through the table. by Darby. Darby came out, shoved Nick through a table. Scorpion death drop on Matt. 1-2, Matthew kicked out. Coffin drop on Matthew. Scorpion death block on Matthew. It was in deep. Matthew taps out, and we got ourselves an excellent main event, probably number 2 on my top 10 matches of the year thus far. One of the best main events to an AEW show ever, and one of the best shows in the last 5 to 10 years. However, listen, I respect the fact that Tony Khan has booked Sting perfectly, and they gave Sting a proper send-off. That was an excellent, excellent way
That's
to have
the best
Sting
send-off I've ever seen.
Yeah. That dude, I have never seen a retirement match that good.
No, WWE always botches send-offs. They never do right by the person that's leaving, ever.
Dude, the last retirement match that I felt was a great send-off was Undertaker Michaels WrestleMania 26.
Yes.
That was the last send-off match that I felt was done right. And
Taker won that match, right?
Taker won that match. And I respect the fact that they did right by Sting. But, dude, I can't sit here and say that Sting should have won. Listen. Sting winning was a great moment, and he retired undefeated as a champion. But, I mean, dude, how many tournaments have we seen in AEW? Now, again, no disrespect. No disrespect to any of those tag teams. I'm sure we're going to get a classy, straight-up, excellent tag team tournament with the tag team titles being the most important thing, and the tag team titles are going to be, they're going to be in a position where they feel more important. They're going to be highlighted beautifully, and we're going to get a great tournament. But, dude, I fucking hate title relinquishment. I hate that shit.
I get that.
I cannot stand when someone wins a championship and they're not injured and they relinquish it.
I think that
what?
I'm normally old school and I like tradition. You know, I like to keep things how things are not usually done. However, in special cases, I feel like every so often, sometimes something comes around where it's okay for you to break tradition. And I feel like the kind of person that Sting has been to 40 years worth of wrestlers, the career that he's had, the fact that I don't remember a story ever of him rocking the boat behind the scenes, having drama with anybody, not willing to put someone else over because he feels like him winning is better. You don't. It's like he had the immaculate career in a lot of ways, and the fact that he was able to stay relatively injury free, to stay relevant as Sting for the last 25 years, when Vince took over WCW and there was really nowhere for Sting to go for a while until he transitions over to TNA, and then again there's nowhere really for him to go. And then he finally gets to come into WWE, and then he has to lose at WrestleMania to Triple H, and then gets injured to Seth Rollins, and that pretty much is his WWE run. We never get to see him in The Undertaker. I feel like yesterday, allowing him to go out on top, I don't think it was so much that he gets to say he retired as a champion. I guess that's just a little perk of him winning yesterday, but I felt like yesterday having him win was more about celebrating Sting than it had to do anything with the titles. I get you have to, the titles are what's going to be carried on now that Sting's gone. We still have the titles, so I get that. I get the people that didn't want Sting to win because they were champions and they don't like the relinquishment and stuff. However, I just felt like you got to go ahead and give that to Sting. He earned that. And when you hear Tony Khan at the scrum kind of talk about Sting after Sting walks away from the table, it just, I don't know, in a lot of ways, it was poetic, I think. And at the end of the day, they'll have this tournament. The titles will be okay. Nobody will be talking about Sting winning and relinquishing the titles, I think, even 2 months from now at Dynasty. So as long as this tournament is good, which we don't have any reason to believe that it won't be, I think yesterday was the perfect way to send a guy like Sting out. That doesn't come along. Now, in 20 years, if there's a talent that we've been watching for the last 30 years and he has some kind of career like Sting, maybe you break tradition again, but normally I'm not for breaking tradition. However, I was all for it yesterday. It was beautiful for
Listen,
him.
if they were going to have Sting win, then they shouldn't have included the tag team titles here.
You can make
If
that
you,
case.
if you want me to be quite honest with you, Blackpool Combat Club and FTR felt like they could have had a tag. That match could have been the tag team title match.
Yeah, true.
That match alone could have been the tag
That
team
felt
title
more
match.
like a title match than yesterday's send off to Sting. The titles were kind of like an afterthought in all of the madness yesterday, in my honest opinion.
That's the only thing that pissed me off. They got
Yeah.
everything right with the send off, except for the fact that it was the tag team titles. But
I feel like it would have all still felt the same had they not
without
even
the titles.
given Tarby and Steve. They didn't need to really put those titles on them.
Exactly.
In my
It didn't
opinion.
really do anything. The titles were just kind of there.
Yeah, it didn't fit. But everybody thought they did it because everybody thought the Bucks were winning.
I would have not complained if the Bucks won. I would have not complained if the Bucks won whatsoever for multiple reasons. Number one, you had them win the titles, you had them lose the titles. Two, the Bucks right now are doing the best work of their career. And three, Sting losing. I mean, after the career that he's had, if he was to lose and put someone else over, that really wouldn't necessarily be going out on a bad term. After a match like that, and
Right.
you lose, like,
but that's why I say
there's
sometimes
no
it's
chance.
okay to break tradition, because normally the guy getting sent off is passing the torch. He's always putting his opponent over before he gets sent off. That's traditionally how things are done in wrestling. And I think every so often something happens and the stars align where it's okay to break tradition. And I feel like there's nobody else in wrestling currently that I would have done that for, but it was fitting for Sting and for Tony Khan to kind of give that accolade to him, whereas most talents that have been in the game for a long time have to put somebody over. Good for Sting, and I think that was a great feather in his cap, and having his sons involved. Initially, like, I was very vocal leading up to this match. I'm not really sure. Like, yeah, everybody's saying Sting wanted this.
He did. That's
He could
exactly.
say that. He could say that till he's blue in the face. And what I've seen Sting over the last 30 years, you could present him with a feud that he could think is dog shit. And the type of guy that Sting is he's not going to even complain. He's going to say, yeah, I love it. That's what that's the kind of guy I think he is. And that's the kind of locker room leader I think he is. And wrestling is going to miss his presence on TV. However, Tony Khan's got it. He already said to Tony Khan at the scrum, he don't want to be an agent and he don't want to be a manager, but they'll have a talk, because Tony is adamant on keeping him around. And I think for the betterment of wrestling, whether it's AEW, WWE, I don't really care. He's got to keep his fingerprint on wrestling. He's got to have some sort of backstage role, mentoring talent, coaching, producing, giving some sort of input on matches, something. You make him give him a. I'd rather him be an EVP than like the Young Bucks. You know what I'm saying? Give him
The
an
Young Bucks aren't
actual
even
position.
EVPs anymore. Like
Right.
the
They're just
EVP
doing
is
that
just
in
a
gimmick,
title.
right? To piss people off.
The EVPs are just the title. The Young Bucks right now, you know where there are? I think the main EVP like area that they're in, I think it's just merchandise and shit like that. Like Omega's in the video game department, but that's it.
Right.
Like they're not producing shit.
Right. I would have Sting be a producer, to be honest.
Yes. But here's the thing. The whole instance is it was just the titles. Now, here's a question. The Young Bucks weren't supposed to be back in January. The only reason why they came back is because Sting requested them. Do we see the Young Bucks leave and continue their hiatus? Did they only come back because Sting requested them?
Whatever the reason why they came back, this turn of theirs is kind of taken off, right? and they've gotten, even though they lost yesterday, they've gotten this heel dynamic, this sort of heel momentum going. And I don't see how you could. I don't know, unless it's personal issues that they have to address. I
You know what
wouldn't.
I'd love to see? The Young
You got to
Bucks
keep them
continue
on
their
TV now.
momentum. Young Bucks continue their momentum. Paige comes back, reunites with the Bucks, and they make the corporate elite.
They could do that. But then what do they do? Go after Bang Bang Scissor Gang Trios titles?
Dude, they could have Hangman go after the world title and the Bucks go after the tag team titles. Imagine the heat. Imagine the heat.
What happens
now,
if
if
Kenny,
you want
when
to do
Kenny
something
comes back?
Hangman, that's what you can do.
Does Hangman, does Kenny Omega align with them when he comes back or feud with them?
I would have him feud with him.
Yeah.
Because Omega doesn't need the elite. You can make the argument that Hangman doesn't need the elite either, but
no, because we need another Ospreay Omega match, in my opinion.
We need another Ospreay Omega match.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only instance that I had an issue with was the outcomes of the last two matches. But regardless, that didn't take away from how good of a show it was.
It was a moment, though. Regardless of the outcome, like, I popped hard, like, that Sting got the win. I did. And I know traditionalists, there's a lot of people out there that didn't like that because of the titles and them having to immediately forfeit him after they win, putting us in another AEW tournament of sorts. But the tag team tournaments, I've loved the AEW tag team tournaments. The singles tournaments have been really hit or miss for me, but I have a feeling this tag team tournament is going to be pretty awesome.
I do have a feeling it's going to rebuild the tag team division, and I'm not going to say it will not, but you know, it's probably just it'll be a thing that'll probably stick with me for a little bit, but after we get the tag team title tournament, I'll probably be over it. I'll probably be over it by then. But still, those two outcomes to the last two matches did not take away from the fact that this was easily the best AEW show that they've ever done. And
best Revolution for sure.
Best Revolution for sure. And one of the best shows in the last 5 to 10 years. And AEW right now, they got a nice thing going for themselves going into the rest of 2024. Let's see what they do going into big business. I'm liking it. They got a nice string of momentum going for themselves. While WWE's got WrestleMania season, AEW, they got a Dynasty season now. So it should be fun. Should be fun to say the least. But
I know that we've been here.
Oh,
we're about
shit.
to get out of here, and we've been here for a minute.
Balls to the wall, man. I think this may be our longest stream.
Shout out to, I know somebody was commenting that they've been here since it started. So if you were here thank you to everybody that showed up, regardless of when you did. But if you were here from the moment we went live, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. And I would just like to say, I've been watching Sting for three plus decades. I grew up a WWF kid, and one day I was scrolling channels in high school, and I came across a wrestling show that I'd never seen before, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I clearly know it's not WWF. It looked a little low budget to me, and I'm like, what is this wannabe WWF stuff? I was about to turn the channel, and there's Sting coming out there, Surfer Sting with his face paint on, and I thought to myself, wow, he looks a lot like the Ultimate Warrior, one of my favorite wrestlers. Let me watch this guy. All these years later, I find out, him and Warrior were actually a tag team before Sting went to WCW and Warrior went to the WWF. That being said, Sting was my pull into WCW. I didn't really watch a lot of WCW until the Monday Night Wars started. And once the Monday Night Wars started, then I was all in on WCW, and I watched them every week like I did WWF. But Sting was that guy that got my eyeballs onto the WCW product. And for all the memories and all the matches I have of him over the years, I'm super sad to see him go. However, I'm glad that he's leaving on his own accord. I'm glad that he got to decide, okay, this is when, like, his story doesn't end in tragedy. And far too often in wrestling, careers are cut too short due to nefarious means of all types and all sorts of things. And guys are always passing away way too early. Some of them while they're still currently wrestling. And so the fact that he got to have this whole beginning to end fairy tale story is you don't see that very often in wrestling. So he's going to be missed. And thank you, Sting. Thank you, Sting.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got. That is all we got. Probably the longest stream we've ever done. We usually have long streams, but we dissect everything in depth. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. I'm sure my watch hours will boost up pretty heftily from this. But regardless, thank you everyone who tuned in. You guys are fantastic. Thank you very much to HooliGrim for coming on in, and maybe I may have you back for WrestleMania weekend too.
Ooh, count me in.
But until then, you already know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check out him on TikTok and Twitter or X. Follow me on all platforms, social media. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. HooliGrim, as I stretch from being straddled in this chair for the last 3.5+ hours, please enlighten all those mindless inbreds out there in social media land. Who runs the IWC?
Who other than DJ motherfucking Storms, baby?
Oh, you damn right, baby. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms. And
don't you forget it.
Oh, yeah, don't you ever forget it.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.